hybrid of spiritual plants cultivating immortality. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 151. Do you want to bet too? This rice is really unique. Wei Shao also had to praise it. As a gourmet, he was very familiar with all kinds of ingredients. There were many 4th grade and 5th grade ingredients, many of which were more spectacular than the scene in front of him. For example, the dragon tooth rice, which was a must-have before the nobles' meals, would form a cloud dragon above the rice field, which was much cooler than this. But those were 4th grade and 5th grade ingredients, which had their own Taoist essence. And now, 1st grade rice also had this kind of strange phenomenon. It contained only a little spiritual power, and the whole strange phenomenon appeared. I can only say that it was exquisite. Come, Brother Wei, take a closer look. Chen Jing took him to the rice field. It had been nearly 2 months since the rice was planted, and the rice ears had begun to form, and the height was about half a meter. Its stems were very thick, not hollow and fragile like ordinary rice, but more like a small tree. Only this kind of support can support such a high yield per mu without being crushed by the rice ears. In front of Wei Shao, Chen Jing used the growth promoting technique to ripen all the rice in the 10 square meters in front of him. They became golden and clear with the naked eye. The ears were dense and full, and the stems were bent by the heavy fruits. This yield per mu. Wei Shao immediately cut a handful of rice and put it on his hand. 3000 catis per mu. It is true. However, he looked at a few of the unusual guys. The rice stems were thicker and stronger. If normal rice is just like a small tree, then these rice plants as thick as a child's arm are basically trees. This, Wei Shao walked over, cut it off with a little effort, and held the heavy rice ears with a wonderful look. This is the real Puan rice queen. Chen Jing walked over. Is it big? Big? Big means strong, big means beautiful. Chen Jing was full of pride. Of all the Puan rice queens here, half will become the real queens with 7 times the yield. Master Wei, is my rice seed okay? 7 times. Wei Shao suddenly understood why Shang Zhengzong had such a high upper and lower limit when talking about yield. If it is really a half probability, then the yield of 10,000 catis per mu is the real bottom line. This guy's cards are not bad. But he was also very satisfied with it. The poor grade of the Puan rice queen is a fatal flaw. Even if it is served on the noble's table, it is not as good as a real delicacy, but the quality is not good, but the quantity can be made up. As long as the quantity is large and the price is right, this is the real money-making monster. Brother Chen, let's be frank. I want this Puan rice queen. What do you want? Just ask directly. I can promise you without hesitation. Wei Shao suddenly felt. Compared with the penny pinching in business, Chen Jing seems to be more valuable at the moment. In this case. So what if he suffers a little loss now? Moreover, he doesn't care much about those specific figures. How much the queen of Puan rice earns, how much the beehive loses, it doesn't really matter. Anyway, it will be used to operate the power behind him in the end, and it has nothing to do with his own expenses. What he really needs at this time is reputation value, the friendship of a potential stock, something that money can't buy. Once the pattern is opened, Wei Shao suddenly felt that his whole person was sublimated. Seeing that he was frank, Chen Jing also put forward his own demands. Brother Wei has said so much, I won't hide it. I can help you get the terms related to the beehive, but I also want to give back to the sect. For example, when building the beehive, some matters that do not involve the core methods of your sect can be handed over to my disciples. How about it? Hahaha, Brother Chen is thinking of this idea. What's the difficulty? Originally, this part of manpower and material resources would be troublesome to transfer from my Yunshang sect. The cost of transporting across the sky and abyss is not small. It can be directly borne by your sect. It is a win-win for both you and me. Wei Shao raised his hand and made it a gesture. The beehive Taoist arts that my Wei family has mastered involve 7 core 6th grade spells, 43 5th grade spells, and more than 300 4th grade spells. I will directly teach your clan 2 of the 6th grade spells, including all the 5th grade, 4th grade, and even 3rd grade spells under its category. How about that? Directly give 2/7 of the beehive Taoist arts? Exclamation mark. Chen Jing was really shocked. He didn't even dare to think about the core spells of the 6th grade, and only dared to think of some 4th grade and 5th grade related spells to knock on the corners. I never expected that. This second young master Wei really dared to give it to him. Brother Wei, is this really possible? Of course it is possible. The beehive Taoist arts are the simplest type of Taoist arts. You will learn them sooner or later. Why don't I be the good guy? However, Brother Chen, you have to satisfy me about the matter of the Pio and Rice Queen. As he said that, second young master Wei touched the spiritual rice in his hand. How much do you want, Brother Wei? Before we talk about the quantity, how about I offer Brother Chen 1 spirit stone for 5 catties of rice? Okay. Although this price is not much higher than ordinary Pio and rice, it is a bulk purchase price settled in spirit stones after all, so it is actually still very high. I don't want much, 3 billion catties per year. Chen Jing was speechless for a while because of this number. 3 billion catties, do you need a modifier to change it? It's a bit too much. Not much. Wei Shao looked at him seriously. Wei, only do big business. 3 billion catties of Pio and Rice Queen is just this year. At the latest in 3 years, I hope to have started with 10 billion catties of spirit rice. I can take as much as you want. Let's put it this way, as long as you can deliver on time within 3 years, I will give you a 23-story honeycomb cave for free, worth several hundred million spirit stones, built where you want to build, but if you can't do it, provide me with unlimited seeds, and I will come in person. Is this considered a bet? Chen Jing was surprised. There must be some fun. Dare you? Wei Shao smiled. This is the way of life for the young masters of the aristocratic families. After a long time of negotiating a business, the profit is only tens of millions. But if they bet and make friends, they will lose hundreds of millions. For them, what is the point of earning spiritual stones? Isn't it just a good time like this? Okay. Chen Jing met the other party's gaze and agreed without hesitation. You want to bet too, right? I, Chen, have never lost a bet. Of course. The output of 3 billion is still a bit rushed. He only has 20,000 mu of spiritual fields. According to the yield of 10,000 catties per mu, the output of 3 crops a year, the total production capacity is only 600 million, which is a lot less. The details of this matter may be changed, but the general direction should not change. At most half a month, you and I should be able to sign the Daoian contract. Wei Shao smiled. Happy cooperation. Chen Jing also smiled. The two stood in front of the rice field and confirmed the business of several small goals. In other corners of this prosperous night, the monks from Yunshang sect and Mao sect also came to Suzhou with various purposes and came into contact with people from all over Suzhou. Food, clothing, housing, transportation, eating, drinking, entertainment, magic education. One by one, the terms that will change everyone's life are being negotiated in various ways. Chapter 152, The Second Spring of the Weapon Refining Hall. If you want to do your work well, you must first sharpen your tools. After negotiating a big order from young Master Wei, you can explode your production capacity without any scruples. Now that 1/3 of the year has passed, it is still very challenging to complete an order of 3 billion jin. Chen Jing's first step is to buy farm tools. Upgrading equipment is always the fastest way to improve. He returned to Jushan Peak again and visited the equipment refining hall. It seems that I have to find a little junior brother to take care of me. I will do these chores once and then let others run them in the future. Arrived at the location of the equipment refining hall. Not long after, a muscular elder of the equipment refining hall, who was full of robes, walked quickly with a happy face. Ha ha ha, Chen Zhenchen, you finally came to our equipment refining hall. The voice was loud, like a huge bell, and very energetic. Elder Lei, I remember how many times I've been here. Hey, it was just a small fight before. I saw that Dan Hall and Chu Hall had benefited from it, and I was looking forward to it. This time, I guess it must be our refining hall's turn. This should count, right? He's quite accurate in judging people. In fact, it has nothing to do with the previous matter of the immortal beings. It's simply because the terms with the outer sect have been implemented one by one. Chu Hall and Din Hall, as the main export resources, are going to take off. But the refining of instruments is different. The sect wants to import magic instruments. In other words, if it doesn't make some efforts, the refining hall will be finished. Chen Jing said, I'm going to make 100 million batches of agricultural tools. Tell me more about the true teaching. Elder Lay nodded. After hearing that there are tens of thousands of acres of spiritual fields waiting to be cultivated, and that magic will be used to repeatedly induce birth, but only to plant peas and rice, he had an idea in a moment. Peas and rice is good, simple, you can toss it hard, and miracles will happen with great effort. And the quantity is large enough, it is definitely a big order. The refining hall hasn't received a big order for a long time. The true transmission has many acres of land, and the progress needs to be accelerated. It would be inappropriate to take some first and second grade farm tools and magical instruments. At least third grade magical instruments must be taken. Elder Lay stood up and said, follow me, true transmission. Chen Jing followed the elder and came to a wide field, about the size of a football field, which was piled with all kinds of things. This place is used to experiment with magical instruments, so it's a bit messy. Elder Lay explained. Normal. True transmission. Look, this is a third grade magical instrument, the gathering cloud gourd. Elder Lay took out the first thing. This is a water storage device, called spring rain gourd. It can collect 10,000 caters of water and store it in the gourd. Open the lid and use the power to activate it, and then you can cast the third grade spell Spring Breeze Turns Rain. Oh. Chen Jing immediately became interested. That is to say, with this gourd, even if you don't know the art of Spring Breeze Turns Rain, you can still cast it? That's right. Good. He has always known that a third grade magic device comes with a spell, such as the flying sword before, which has a very useful spell. He forgot that spells such as calling the wind and rain can also be engraved on it. I don't even know how to turn the wind and rain myself. Chen Jing has recently been cramming low-level spells in the two major subjects of geography and harmony, and has also been attending classes to learn about other majors, so his progress in the spell of the weather is zero. Elder Lay, is it convenient for you to try it? Here is a true disciple, to experience it with his own hands. Come, use the power to activate it. Chen Jing took the spring rain gourd. Opening the lid of the gourd, mana poured into it, and the runes hidden on the surface of the gourd were activated and suspended in the air. A stream of clear water gushed out from the mouth of the gourd. It was obviously just such a small opening, but the amount of water discharged was like a waterfall hanging upside down, quickly forming rain clouds in the air. Not only that, the rain clouds also contained a large amount of wood-type spiritual power, which was more suitable for the physique of the spiritual plant baby. The second grade small cloud rain technique only contains spiritual power in the cloud and rain, and the third grade spring breeze and rain is to integrate spiritual power of different attributes, and adjust it according to the spiritual plant irrigated. This gourd has 7 kinds of spiritual power, and can be adjusted at will. It's too convenient. Looking at the light rain falling from the sky, Chen Jing was very satisfied. However, this gourd is not without shortcomings. First of all, you have to draw water and fill the gourd yourself. Secondly, the mana consumption is not small. He estimated. A cultivator in the soul enriching period, as long as he has no special qualifications, can only use the gourd to make rain for 10 minutes. Of course, it's not a big problem. Anyway, there are many people, so a relay race will do. I want this spring rain gourd. How much is it? 10,000 contributions, or 1,200 spirit stones. 100 first. Hearing this arrogant remark, Elder Lay was overjoyed. The business of the refining hall has always been tepid, and there are early orders of 1 million contributions. Anything else? Chen Jing continued to ask. Of course. Elder Lay nodded heavily, and took out another object, which was a big drum. This is a thunder drum. Beating this drum, combined with the spring rain gourd, is like the thunder of the waking of insects, and all things will grow. It can attract a lot of resurrection energy, which is very good for the growth of spiritual plants. This is good. Similar to the principle of the spring rain good, the third great Chi magic has a thunder attraction, which can be used to fight and strike people, and can also simulate the waking of insects, celestial phenomena, to promote the germination and growth of spiritual plants. However, this is a 4th grade magic weapon, which is a bit expensive. It cost Chen Jing 800,000 contributions to get it. There is also the golden crow lamp. Under the illumination of this light, spiritual plants can grow as usual in the daytime. This thing is called the Shen Pond. Put in plants, animal dung, scales and other things, and use the magic power for 3 days and 3 nights to get a pool of Shen essence, which greatly supplements the soil fertilizer. True disciples, don't try this. I can't bear to hear it suddenly. Look at this mechanism. Elder Lei has never been so hard to sell. Of course, Chen Jing is also very awesome. If there is anything that can improve the speed of farming, there is only one word: buy. Elder Lei, it's best to deliver part of this batch of goods within 1 month. I need it urgently, and make all the rest within 3 months. Can you do it? At this point, Elder Lei's joy suddenly condensed. Oh, it seems that I have forgotten this important thing. The long-term economic downturn seems to have not so many disciples in the refining hall. But is this a problem? No. True disciples, don't worry, this is not difficult. Elder Lei's tone was loud and clear, as if he had made some kind of decision. Even if he had to open the weapon refining hall and personally go out to deliver this order, he had to deliver it beautifully. After that, he had to increase the training of disciples and expand production capacity. Because Chen Jing said, this is only the first batch. As long as it is delivered on time and there are no problems, I estimate that there will be at least 5 or 6 batches in the future, no more and no less. After one batch, the total value will reach tens of millions of spirit stones. Not to mention 5 or 6 batches. Elder Lei seemed to see the Jushin Peak weapon refining hall coming back to life in his hands and creating new glory. Chapter 153 The first step of the seed giant. It's like going back to the time before liberation. Chen Jing came out of the weapon refining hall, having spent all his savings. This was not enough, as he only paid the deposit. If it weren't for his status, reputation, ability to make money and future potential, he would have been kicked out. This is why the weapon refining hall in Jushin Peak is not the most cost effective, but he still wants to come here to purchase. In addition to giving priority to his own industry, the other party will take care of him temporarily without cash, which is also an important consideration. The income from the PO and Rice Queen cannot be counted on for the time being. It can't even be paid for the beehive. Where can I make money? The capital chain is broken. The balance cannot be delayed all the time. It's not that I can't afford it, but it will affect my credit. I have to find someone who can make gold coins. While Chen Jing was thinking, he suddenly remembered that he hadn't been back to his workstation for a long time. He almost forgot that he was still in charge of the Spirit Beast Hall. This was the ATM given to him by his master. He turned his footsteps and headed towards the Spirit Beast Hall, passing the storefront where there were few people, and went straight to the breeding farms in the back. As soon as he arrived, he saw Elder Tu leading many disciples to explain how to use magic to care for postpartum sows. So many new disciples? Indeed, my Spirit Beast Hall should also expand its production capacity. This account is in the public account of the hall, and I don't have to pay. I just need to take care of the dividends, which is still very good. Chen Jing landed. Oh, Chen Zhenchuan is back, a rare guest. Elder Tu smiled on his fat face and teased. Senior brother Chen. The new disciples saluted him. There is no clear division between the brothers and sisters here, except for who entered first, who is the senior brother. It is relatively certain, if they entered at the same time, whoever received the true teaching is the senior brother, and the second is age, but it is not certain. Sometimes it is calculated according to personal ability and background reputation. But in any case, as a monk who entered this year, Chen Jing has to call others senior brothers most of the time. He can only satisfy his desire with Aang Huayan. Now he has more junior brothers and sisters. It's a good time to see if there are any smart ones. Take them with you and be a secretary. One of the drawbacks of being a grassroots person is that he doesn't even have a lackey and he has to start from scratch to train. unless he is not picky, like Wang Laoda and Chen Zhang. Chen Jing also uses them, but these two, one has limited ability, and the other is not of good origin, and Chen Zhang has to maintain his identity as a disciple of Yunshang sect on the surface, so he can only do a limited amount of things. While Chen Jing nodded and smiled at everyone, a bunch of thoughts flashed through his mind, and then he said to Elder 2. With Elder 2 as the Dinghei Shinsen, I feel much more at ease when practicing magic in the academy. The Elder can be said to be my most solid backer. 1. Hahaha, good academic performance, but it would be better if you could get something like the Taoist incense pig. Elder 2 pointed at the pig, sighed, and continued. The world is changing too fast. Elderly of the Treasure Pavilion has acted quickly enough. However, the market in the outer sect is not bad either. New restaurants are everywhere like weeds in the spring breeze. Elderly is a little anxious and has spent a lot of money to ask us to use the big formation to increase production quickly. I thought that, since we have signed a 1-year exclusive agreement with Elderly, we will not be able to live well if she is not doing well, so we have also made some additional investments to share her pressure. The first batch of fast-growing Taoist fragrant pigs has been served, and the response is very good. However, although we have another 2,000 piglets that are about to grow up, they may not be able to meet the needs. Nowadays, time is like gold and cannot be wasted. Fortunately, there is Elder 2 to deal with it. After bragging first, Chen Jing asked, fast-growing Taoist fragrant pigs can only cope with it for a while. We can't keep growing and selling them quickly, otherwise we will lose money. What limits the number of Taoist fragrant pigs? It's mainly feed. Because the speed here has suddenly increased, Chuhatang didn't expect it, so they planted few longevity beans and couldn't supply them. Longevity beans. Chen Jing recalled briefly. He remembered that the yield of longevity beans was only 3,000 jin per mu. Well, he was already arrogant. He even dared to use only to describe the yield of longevity beans. But now he has the capital to be arrogant, because the hybrid book has received a wave of epic upgrades. After the second hybridization, even PO and rice is more productive than the original high-yield longevity beans. It doesn't matter, this problem is easy to say. Chen Jing suddenly knew where to find his final payment. More productive seeds. Chuhatang, do you want it? Hybrid book thought. He found the longevity beans and started the second hybridization. As a 3-star spiritual plant, the cost of washing the label of longevity beans is 100 times that of 1 star. That is, 100 points. Chen Jing looked at his remaining 700,000 mutation points and felt that there was nothing to be afraid of. So many mutation opportunities. Can't the mutation result in a mere increase in yield? Start brushing. He started brushing entries with determination. Blueprint white clouds, blue sky and white clouds. 10 minutes passed. 10 hours passed. Chen Jing's eyes seemed to have darkened a lot. He walked out of the quiet room, exuding the aura of an ancient Guinean chief. He lowered his head and opened the hybridization book. After unremitting efforts, the 6-digit mutation points were increased to 4 digits. Finally, a fairly good new longevity bean was obtained. Longevity bean, 3 stars. After the second hybridization, the longevity bean still has the exaggerated hardness that can break a big tooth, but the good news is that its nutrition is even better. Why don't you consider not making it into pig food and learn about soy milk powder? In addition, long-term use can purify the body of the consumer, detoxify, remove evil, and cleanse the body of impurities. Its life-extending effect has also been further enhanced. If you keep eating it every day, your lifespan will be extended by 10 to 15 years, and it will have a fresh fragrance. Unfortunately, the survival rate of longevity beans will definitely decrease by 30%, and it will be more susceptible to illness. You need to cultivate them more carefully. Label 1. High yield, blue, double the yield. There is a probability of super beans, 3 times. The yield has doubled, and the quality is better, but it has some negative effects, but fortunately they can be overcome. Chen Jing nodded. This is the only way to go. It costs too much to mutate a high-grade hybrid spiritual plant. Moreover, there are all kinds of weird things in this entry pool. It is more difficult to wash out what you want than he thought. with brand new results. Chen Jing immediately went to find the elder of Chu Hall, Taoist King. After some experiments, he got the other party's approval. But Taoist King was a little dissatisfied. Because it was said before that the improved version of the longevity bean seeds was not included in the original agency agreement, he thought that the improved version must be a high-priced product at first, so it would be better not to buy it. As a result, this improved version has changed the yield. It's normal to buy the expansion pack after buying the main body. Chen Jing thought to himself. Of course, the price is not high, and there is still a small part to make up for the balance. However, this time, it is not just to sell a seed expansion pack. He decided to sell more seeds. Elder King, I can help change some seeds, Chen Jing said. Chapter 154. The King Nang sect cannot have a second treasure. What Chen Jing didn't expect was that, as soon as he said this, his Yin GUI started to sound. The voice of Master Yunting Daoist sounded. Chen Jing and junior brother King He, come here together. Master? Without any explanation, the Yin GUI was silent the next moment. Chen Jing and Taoist King He looked at each other and had to put aside the things they were discussing and go to the nearby Wantang room to meet Taoist Yunting. Master, what's the urgent matter? Thinking so. Following Taoist King He, they stepped into the Wantang room together. Then Chen Jing was stunned. Taoist King He, who had just entered, disappeared. He turned around, and the door behind him closed with a bang. The empty Wantang room left Chen Jing alone. He tried to cast a spell, but the Wantang room did not move at all, and did not respond at all. Seeing this scene, Chen Jing's mind was in a mess and he didn't know what to do. Master suddenly isolated me alone. If it wasn't because of external reasons, then it was me. He calmed himself down and began to analyze. The possibility of a crisis in the cave is extremely small. Over the years, unless there is a bloody battle with no way out and extremely cruel, there is no such thing as a sudden death of a Shinran realm strongman. The cave is the foundation of the cave and Shinran realm cultivators, and it is safer than the cave master himself. Most of the time, the cave master has changed 7 or 8 generations of cultivators, but the cave he opened up still exists in the world. Chen Jing ruled out the possibility of a crisis in the cave, that is. Shouldn't I tell Taoist King about changing the seeds? He felt a little scared, and quickly reflected on himself. Not long after, the Wantang room rumbled and moved automatically, and then the door opened. Outside the door was the top of the main peak. Taoist Yunting stood at the door with his back to him. Master. Chen Jing immediately stepped forward. Just now, I called Junior Brother King and told him not to tell him about your intention to change the seeds. Junior Brother King grew up in the cave since he was a child, and there is no need to worry about his character. Taoist Yunting's first sentence confirmed Chen Jing's guess. Master, I have spoken out of turn. I did not tell you in detail. You are holding a treasure. If I had asked you in detail, it might have caused resentment, but I did not expect that you could change it if you wanted to. Actually, it is not that simple. The bottom line is guaranteed. Taoist Yunting did not just stand there. He nodded and walked slowly under the eaves. Chen Jing followed behind him. You do not need to tell me in detail about the treasure. If I know too much, I will inevitably worry too much, which is not conducive to cultivating my sentiments and experiencing the leisurely fun of the mountains and fields. Yes, if you have any questions or important matters, you can come and ask. You can handle the matter yourself. Today, I will tell you the bottom line. My King Nang sect has prospered because of the Shenending, and it has also been coveted because of the Shenending. Things like the Fengshan sect have happened more than once. At this point, Taoist Yunting sighed. When I'm interested, I will tell you about the interesting stories of the treasures in the Central Plains. There are often ownerless treasures in the Central Plains, which attract a group of people to try their luck. Once they try, they will leave corpses everywhere and bleed. Master, have you been there? I have been there, and competed for it. The most recent time, I got the treasure of the Wind and Thunder Stick, but the treasure didn't like me, and turned into nothingness and dispersed. Since then, I have given up the idea. The choice of owner for a treasure depends entirely on fate, but people in this world are foolish, and like to force things. Even if you can keep the treasure, you will have many more troubles. Taoist Yunting picked a fallen leaf and flicked it away with his fingers. He added, the King Nang sect can't afford 2 treasures. There can only be one. If there is one more, there will be a disaster. Master, I will pay attention. However, Taoist Yunting did not respond for a long time. After a long time, he sighed slightly. The King Nang sect can have 1 treasure. It's not that the King Nang sect is so strong that it can just protect the treasure. On the contrary, it's because the King Nang sect is weak enough, so weak that it has almost nothing except the treasure. Who dares to provoke a small follower with a terrifying killing weapon? It's no good to provoke him, and he will be in trouble. But with 2 treasures, it's different. This means one thing, this follower will take off soon. The moment the King Nang sect becomes a threat, the neighbors will no longer be afraid of your big killing weapon, and will be willing to pay the price for it, and press the King Nang sect to death on the eve of prosperity. This thought flashed through Taoist Yunting's mind, but he didn't say it out loud. It's meaningless. He won't let Chen Jing give up using the treasure, and Chen Jing himself can't not use the treasure. As long as you use it, sooner or later, that day will come. Remember, new spiritual seeds cannot involve 4th grade spiritual plants for the time being. 3rd grade spiritual plants, that are the core of elixirs such as the Deo Deo pill, should not be taken out rashly. The other 1st grade and 2nd grade spiritual seeds will be covered by the master, but you cannot take out too many of the Pio and Rice Queen in the short term. Taoist Yunting listed some key points. The apprentice only needs to focus on farming and launching new spiritual seeds, while he has to think more when sitting on the mountain fishing. Master, I've written it down. Seeing Chen Jing nod and remember silently, he felt a little comforted. Go. Chen Jing finally got the task of changing the spiritual seeds. This time, the master directly issued the task to him and paid him. He didn't have to go to Chuhatang to discuss business, which reduced the possibility of exposure. However, the spiritual seeds he got were all regular 1st grade spiritual plants. It only needs to meet the requirements of increasing production, increasing efficiency, and reducing costs, although he didn't intend to make a particularly good one at once. But now it is definitely impossible. I never thought that master would also be unable to hold back. Ever since joining the King Nang sect, Chen Jing felt extremely happy. He no longer had to worry about being guilty of possessing a treasure. He could grow whatever he wanted on this land. All kinds of business were also discussed smoothly, and everything went smoothly. However, the cold rules have always been there. It was just that master and the sect had opened up more space for him before. On the one hand, we have to export spiritual plants and elixirs to fight dumping, and on the other hand, we dare not produce powerful spiritual plants. What the hell? It was impossible for Chen Jing to have no emotions in his heart, but he didn't know who to scold. He just felt that this world was still so fucked up. He opened the hybridization book. What a good treasure. How many people can eat spiritual rice and become cultivators? How many vicious disputes can be avoided? But, alas, Chen Jing suppressed his emotions and began to do the task assigned by his master. There are 5 kinds of spiritual vegetables, including tomato, eggplant, and corn. They are all ordinary vegetables that are spiritual vegetables that are nurtured by the spiritual energy of the earth veins. It didn't take much effort to complete all the hybridization. These spiritual vegetables all used 5-spice pio and rice in the hybridization process. Compared with ordinary pio and rice, 5-spice pio and rice has no additional negative effects, but has an additional delicious green entry. It not only has the fruitful increase in production with the green label, but also has the blessing of delicious taste. Although this batch of new spiritual vegetables was made by Chen Jing casually, it also ushered in a comprehensive upgrade in production and taste. After completing the task, Chen Jing began to think about this matter. I can't hybridize the 4th grade spiritual plants, and the 3rd grade ones are also very restricted. In other words, those who make money are basically not allowed to touch. This is too sad. Could it be that I can only sell pio and rice in the future? Sell some fruit and vegetable seeds. But these things, such as the pio and rice queen, although billions of pounds are sold in large quantities, the selling price is just like that, all relying on small profits and quick turnover. If the Pio and Rice Queen was not one of the links in the cooperation with the beehive, he would not sell it. Whoever wants to sell it can sell it. Master's original intention is not that it cannot be made, but it must be reasonable and unobtrusive to take it out, and don't make money too roughly. Chen Jing turned over, put aside personal emotions and analyzed calmly. When the outer sect came to the Qingnang sect to do business, they were naturally aiming to take advantage. If they really threatened the development of their own internal industries, they would strike hard regardless of whether it was because of the treasure. Therefore, it was not that he was targeted, but that he would be beaten if he fell behind. Of course, fishing requires bait, and the outer sect does not mind letting the Qingnang sect see the hope of turning things around, and will even provide help. Just like Wei Xiao, who took the initiative to give to 6th grade and core spells of Beehive Taoism to help the Qingnang sect develop Beehive Taoism. Each party was baiting the other party, and each other was eating happily. The outer sect occupied an absolute dominant position, and certainly did not think that the Qingnang sect could turn things around, so the bait was spread generously, just as a nest. This is good news, and it is also a tacit understanding between each other. I really shouldn't have gone too far, aroused the other side's vigilance, and ended this golden period early. Okay, what's wrong with only planting 1st and 2nd grade spiritual plants? I can still quickly complete the initial accumulation. No, this incident reminded me that what I want is not to climb the cutting edge Taoist arts, but to make the basic things better. Now, I'm just back to the field I'm best at. In fact, it is difficult for Chen Jing to climb up. In order to brush a blue increase in production entry, a 3rd grade immortal being almost used up all the mutation points accumulated for so long. This only shows that he is not solid enough in the popularization of low-level spiritual plants. If there is no Laodeng to explode gold coins, there are still fellow villagers. Wanjiang Mansion, Taoism Academy. The quiet room of the Fuzzin Hall. Ying Huayan was only wearing a thin dress, with his sleeves rolled up, and the spiritual pen dipped in cinnabar was skillfully wielded between his fingers. A talisman was quietly completed, and the lines as precise as the veins of the body intertwined, reflecting the white light on the talisman. Talismans and formations imitate the shape of heaven and earth and borrow the power of heaven and earth. If that's the case, why can't talismans be used as well? Since she drew a large number of talismans for Chen Jing's plant battle last time, her understanding of these talismans has become more and more profound. Cultivators use the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to practice, and all things in heaven and earth have spiritual energy, so naturally they have to use the most cost-effective ones. The only widely inconvenient ones are the power of the stars, the power of the earth veins, and the power of incense and vows. These are the 3 major systems of heaven, earth, and man, the basic cornerstones of the cultivation world. All formations and talismans are built on these 3 major systems. It depends on who uses them more deeply. The talismans take the power of heaven and earth. The talismans take the power of humanity. That's right, gods are counted in humanity, and all the power of living beings is classified in humanity. If you want to ask why, it's because this is Shenzhou, where people define everything and everything defines people. Talismans point to heaven and earth, borrowing power from heaven and earth, while talismans point to gods, borrowing power from gods. The price of the wheel. There is no doubt that the talisman is expensive. After all, the transaction with the heaven and earth is clearly marked, but the gods are wise and can lend money without interest. Ying Huayan was studying the talisman at this time. The talisman she drew still pointed to Chen Jing, but unlike the previous Login talisman, this was a brand new spell talisman. Entangle. Ying Huayan activated this talisman. There was no response. She took out the sound GUI, played the magic formula, connected with Chen Jing, and after telling a story, she took out the same talisman again. Entangle. Swish. A seed appeared out of thin air, suddenly turned into cattle tendon copper skin grass, and entangled with the dummy, twisting the joints and limbs of the straw man. Chen Jing's voice came from the sound GUI. Huayan, what are you doing? Why do I feel that the power in the statue has disappeared? I borrowed your divine power to make an entanglement talisman. Talisman. Oh. Chen Jing's mind moved, and he separated a divine thought and returned to the realm of gods and ghosts. Soon, he understood what Ying Huayan had done. He was surprised. You can actually create your own talisman. Although the winding talisman already existed, the drawing method was different because it was taken from a different system. Now that the operating system has been changed, it still has the same effect, and its difficulty is only a little easier than pure self-creation. Yeah. Aang Huayan was still the same, answering everything calmly. She said, if you use your statue, then the cost of many talismans will be very low. How low? As low as a piece of ordinary talisman paper. The real cost price. After all, the price was paid by Chen Jing, the god. Are there any restrictions? No restrictions. It all depends on your statue and what kind of spells it can provide. I will draw the corresponding talismans according to your divine body. Is the upper limit myself? Chen Jing asked in confusion. What's the point of this? Talismans are the only way for mortals to cast spells. Didn't you ask me to get the list of Anning Prefecture and various counties and towns a few days ago? I guessed that you were going to let more mortals master cultivation. These talismans may be useful to you. On the other side, Anning Prefecture, County. Chen Jing listened to Aang Huayan's words, looked at the rice fields in the distance, and fell into deep thought. These rice fields are all ordinary rice. Since the black box was opened, many mortals who were affected by the disaster have returned to their hometowns. Those tree people who were not deeply possessed by demons were also treated by Taoist Yunting and other King Nang sect leaders to remove the spores in their bodies and restore their original appearance. Therefore, there are still many people in the county town. Chen Jing went to the countryside this time and visited many towns and villages to do research to get gold coins from fellow villagers. Since high-level spiritual plants are not allowed to be planted and Laodeng is not allowed to explode, then spiritual plants will go to the countryside. Compared with the small market of tens of thousands of cultivators, these millions of villagers, wouldn't it be much better to use them? And no one has ever cared about these ordinary people, so no matter how he messes up, it won't arouse vigilance. Junior Sister Huayan, your talisman came at the right time. Chen Jing couldn't help but sigh. The various infrastructures in this countryside are very poor and rotten. The difficulty of development can be imagined. But with the talisman, it means a large number of cheap spells, which will undoubtedly greatly reduce the difficulty of development. Chapter 155 Rural Construction Plan. Hey, Director Wang is dressed so brightly today. Where are you going? Zhao, the newly married wife of Boss Wang, leaned against the head of the bed and asked curiously. My wife, the title of director is no longer necessary from now on. Oh, Wang Yang, don't you like others to call you director the most? Humph. After hearing this, the fat on Boss Wang's face trembled in contempt. He dismissed the maid who served him to dress and shook his new robe vigorously. From today on, call me Director Wang outside. His voice was extremely proud, full of vigor and energy. Director? What kind of new position is this? The agricultural persuasion office is in my hands, will be expanded to 12, and the agricultural persuasion offices will also be promoted to agricultural persuasion departments. Under the agricultural persuasion department, there will be a newly established agricultural persuasion office. Do you understand? Your husband has been promoted. Boss Wang was so happy that his mouth was crooked. It has only been a short while since the agricultural promotion office at hand has been fully upgraded and its power has expanded tenfold. He is still the top leader and his position as the number one lackey is as stable as Mount Tay. His wife Zhao asked, why did the second young master set up so many agricultural promotion offices? It's okay to tell you. Master Chen is preparing to let more ordinary people embark on cultivation. This time, he plans to set up agricultural promotion offices in Gua County, Langma County, etc. Why is there no Quanshan County? Zhao asked hurriedly. She was born in the Zhao family of Quanshan, a powerful family in the county. The Zhao family has a martial arts hall, a private school, land, various industries, and clansmen who have joined the sect. With her identity and background, marrying Boss Wang can be said to be marrying down, but Boss Wang's real value lies in Chen Jing. As the number one spokesperson for Chen Jing's true teachings, Boss Wang's value has doubled. The Zhao family hopes to go further, so they will marry their daughter and seek opportunities. There are still a few agricultural promotion offices, but they are not decided yet. Boss Wang touched his belly. Master Chen gave some of the remaining positions to his family members, and one was given to me. Director Wang Zhao immediately got up from the bed. Her clothes slipped off her shoulders and stuck to Boss Wang. Boss Wang's legs softened, and he trembled slightly. He pushed her away a little and said seriously, okay, don't worry, I will definitely fight for this position for your family. My husband is so powerful, it's still early, shall we? Master Chen asked me to go there today, so I can't delay. We'll talk about it later. Boss Wang's face changed drastically, and he refused sternly. He turned around and left in a hurry. When he arrived at the office, Boss Wang called many younger brothers. Although the spiritual plant going to the countryside was a temporary idea, the expansion of the agricultural promotion office was a long-planned plan. Chen Jing had already greeted him early and found some capable people to train in advance so that they could take over in the future. This hasty training mechanism naturally has many problems, but the time and space for choice are limited after all. As long as the problem is not serious, there will be no problem. Let's go to Kwa County with me. Call the people. Boss Wang and others came to the open area, took out the small paper crane, and rode on it, and took off swayingly. With a means of transportation that ignores the terrain, they soon arrived in Kwa County. The reason why they came here as the first stop is that this is the home of Chen Jing's mother, and the first branch of the agricultural persuasion office will be opened here. Not far from Kwa County is a tributary connected to the main river of Anning Prefecture, and there was a canal construction project in the Shen Dynasty era. Developed water conservancy has made agriculture prosperous, and then developed into a large county with a population of nearly 100,000, hence the name of Kwa County. Because there is no government, Kwa County is controlled by the 4 major families in the area. After Boss Wang and others arrived here, they were entertained by the joint forces of the 4 major families, and also met Chen Jing, who was waiting here. Young Master Chen. Boss Wang is here. Boss Wang said nothing, but his eyes clearly showed that he wanted to be called director. Chen Jing ignored him as usual. What do you think about the opening of the agricultural persuasion center here? Here, people and land are all owned by someone, but you are of noble status, and if you show your intention, the 4 major families will naturally prepare everything they should. That's exactly what they mean. Chen Jing said. Because there is no government and no clear ruling body, the rules for maintaining order are often local moral codes, conventions, and the power of the 4 major families. In the past, the 4 major families had the power, so the local rules and ecology were formed according to the needs of the 4 major families. Now that Chen Jing has stepped in and has the biggest power, it is natural that redistribution and negotiation are required. Of course, we must grasp the degree. Having a big power does not mean doing whatever you want. Only harmony and win-win can lead to long-term development. Moreover, the local big families have monopolized many resources, including education. Although there are many cases of not doing anything, they really can't turn around without them. Just like Chen Jing has been using Boss Wang to do things, Boss Wang has this ability, and he is directly threatened and benefited by Chen Jing. So he can bring his ability into play, and you sit in the right position. The same is true for the 4 major families. They are the best tools themselves. Before better tools appear, they can't do anything without them. What are their conditions? Boss Wang asked. The 4 major families promised to give us 1,000 acres of spiritual fields and a town of people, but we can't expand outside the town. There are no other conditions. Chen Jing replied. You don't want to? Boss Wang asked cautiously. Of course I don't agree. If I agree, wouldn't I become a bandit who robs? Am I like a bandit? That's right. How can bandits rob as fast as we do? What a sweet little mouth. Chen Jing couldn't help but hold his forehead and said, I put forward new conditions to them. This year and in the next 10 years, I will purchase many spiritual plants such as PO and rice here at a high price, and they must provide them. How much? At least 100 million catties. Don't mind the number. I just reported it casually. Oh. Boss Wang was stunned, thinking that this was more excessive than robbing directly. Chen Jing smiled and asked, can they grow it? Of course not. Hiss. So we set up an agricultural persuasion office here, and they have to take the initiative to help us. Otherwise they will definitely not be able to report. Yes. Chen Jing nodded. We will provide all the help we can and involve all the 4 major families, asking them to contribute money and effort and work together. Great, really great. Boss Wan was enlightened and shouted excitedly. Isn't this much better than a town of people with 1,000 acres of spiritual fields? This is packing the entire Kwa County into your pocket. After the excitement, he asked, do the 4 major families agree? If you don't agree, let someone who agrees come up. Chen Jing didn't forget his identity. It's a bit crazy to say that he is the Prince of Suzhou. There is no problem with saying that he is the Prince of Anning Mansion. Cooperate honestly, he is not messing around. He provides money and technology, and the 4 major families provide money and effort. Let's build together and get rich together. If he doesn't agree with this, then he must have a bad conscience. Don't blame Chen for launching a heavy attack. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 156. Others go up, he digs down. While Chen Jing was negotiating, on the other side, the heads of the 4 major families also brought their confidants and gathered together for a meeting. A true disciple doesn't go to Wanjiang Prefecture to develop himself, but runs to our corner. It's really weird. In my opinion, you'd better not offend this person. Everyone went to see the grand ceremony this year. Even if you didn't see it, you should have heard of him. He is a celebrity. Not to mention that he surpasses all the disciples this year. He has never been so prominent even in the past 50 years. How can I say 50 years ago? An old man sighed worriedly and said, all the heroes avoided him and no one dared to stand out. Moreover, he did not convince others with force but with virtue. However, in the subsequent extra competition, his power and virtue were revealed, and he was both talented and intelligent. Everyone present was impressed. In the past, this qualification was enough to become the chief disciple of the Qingnang sect. I have watched the Qingnang sect's grand ceremony for 100 years, and I can't remember another person who performed like this. Let's talk about it again. At worst, we can give him another suppression. The heads of the families looked at each other, their sad expressions full of unwillingness. They are not stupid, they can't see the benefits described by Chen Jing. It's just that, standing in their position, you can understand their thoughts. No matter how mediocre Kwa County is now, it is still Kwa County of the 4 major families. In this small piece of land, the 4 major families are the local emperors, the makers of rules, the top of the entire ecosystem, the comfort zone and the comfort zone. It's like, a person is financially free, but he is pulled up to work overtime to make money. I'm short of money, but yeah, this money has to be made. Chen Jing was afraid that they couldn't understand the hidden meaning, and he had clearly hinted that this condition must be accepted. At most, the details can be discussed. Who's going to talk? You go. Master Ma will go. Don't talk nonsense. Let's go together. After talking for a few rounds, suddenly, someone knocked on the door outside. It was Master Ma's confidant. With an anxious look on his face, Master Ma stood up, said something and then went outside. What's the matter? Master, it's bad. Chen Jing has invited some people to a banquet. Who? The confidant looked around, leaned in and whispered a name. Suddenly, the face of the head of the Ma family changed drastically. That person was exactly his cousin. After the Tree Man disaster, Kwa County was naturally swept through. As the brightest stars, the 4 major families were naturally given special care, so they encountered something similar to the inner city nobles. Almost all of their main family branches died. But a big family is a big family. If the main branch is gone, there are branches, and if the branches are gone, there are branches. They are intertwined and complicated. Even the 9 clans cannot be killed clearly, let alone this random killing. In short, after the main family was gone, as the most powerful branch, he naturally stood up to take over the banner. And the few remaining members of the main family were also very honest and handed over the power. But they handed over power because their hard power was severely damaged. But what if they were supported by the true disciples of the Qingnang sect? Quick, prepare the horse. I want to see Master Chen. The head of the Ma family panicked on the spot. On the other side, the Liu family. The Liu family inherited some classics of the Divine Dynasty and could barely be considered a family of scholars. Although not wealthy, they were invited by major families to teach in private schools, so their social status was acceptable. But since the Chen family rose because of Chen Jing, the Liu family also took off. You were the best student when you were young, and you learned everything quickly. Everyone said you would have a bright future, but you never thought you would soar to the sky. Grandma took Chen Jing's hand, with a loving smile on her wrinkled face. I also thought I would definitely take off at that time. Chen Jing nodded in agreement. At that time, he was still young, fantasizing that he would have an unawakened golden finger waiting for him. A time traveler, is it appropriate not to take off? He even thought about how to take off, and whether to eat beef after taking off. As a result, until last year, when he had given up hope, the hybrid book suddenly appeared in his world. 18 years, these 18 years. Dong Dong the servant hurried to report. The head of the Ma family came to visit in person. Got it. Chen Jing didn't even turn his head, waved his hand, and said, I want to accompany Grandma, no need to see you. Not long after, servants came to report one after another, and the other 3 heads of the family also came one by one, and were asking for an audience outside. Of course, they were all left out. He proposed conditions for the 4 major families to consider, and these people really considered it. It was simply nonsense. Obviously, they have been the master here for so long, that they have forgotten their identity as tools. Chen Jing stated his purpose when he came. After investigating the surroundings, there has been no reply until now. If it weren't for the fact that the 4 major families could make do now, he would have started to handle the case according to the law. Grandma, have you asked Grandpa what he said about running the university? The resistance to this matter is greater than that of your agricultural persuasion office. Grandma shook her head. The more resistance there is, the more we have to do it. Today, these local snakes dare to leave me out. I dare not think about what will happen tomorrow. This is because their strength has been damaged after the disaster. Even so, if they really refuse to cooperate, I really can't do anything about them. Chen Jing was a little angry. This is what happens when education is not universal. Those people at the bottom of society who work hard are only talented in being managed, but they are not good at management. At least it will take many years of hard work for some individuals to stand out, and a new authority system must be established, which involves very complicated aspects. But I have 3 billion kilograms of gambling pressure this year, so I don't have time to start from scratch, so I can only use the existing system. It's not urgent. Grandma patted the back of his hand and said, you took in tens of thousands of disaster victims in the east of the city and formed a new town. Start with the new town. It just so happens that your grandfather got the panacea sent to him, and he is very energetic now. Let your grandfather take his disciples to teach there, step by step. Yes. Chen Jing nodded. It can only be like this. 40,000 people stayed in the east of the city, and the town formed already has a school, but that school currently only provides enlightenment for some children. With a professional educator like Grandpa, it can be further expanded. Taking the new town as a basic point, cultivate all kinds of talents, and then spread to the towns and villages. Others go up, he digs at the bottom. After chatting with Grandma for a while, it was getting dark. Wait until Grandma rested. Chen Jing went to the reception room leisurely. None of the 4 heads of the family gathered together spoke. They were still meeting in the restaurant to discuss how to deal with Chen Jing. Now, they gathered another table directly under Chen Jing's nose, and they were embarrassed to raise their heads. I haven't visited the old man for a long time. I chatted for a while. Thank you for waiting. Chen Jing said. Young master is pure and filial. I'm bothering you. The 4 people spoke separately, and their attitudes were very low. Well, everyone, have you thought it through? Chen Jing didn't beat around the bush and asked directly. What else is there to say? The 4 nodded with a failed expression. We have thought it over carefully, and are determined to obey the young master's orders. So far, the first level of spiritual plants going to the countryside has been successfully broken through. Chapter 157 The correct way to open the Villain. Waning has an ordinary name. When ordinary people name their children, they often refer to common things around them, especially place names. In Gu County, there are a lot of people with Gu in their names, and similarly, there are also many people with an and Ning in their names. As ordinary as her name is her, with an ordinary birth and ordinary appearance, she should have lived an ordinary life until her husband died on the night of their wedding. Before Wei Ning even met her husband, he became a corpse and she became a widow. 3 years later, she remarried, and coincidentally her husband died again, but this time before the wedding. Her fiancé was conscripted to build a pavilion for a young man, and was killed by falling trees. Some people said that she was a husband killer, and the eyes of people around her seemed to become strange when they looked at her. But with the efforts of her parents and matchmakers, they successfully matched her. As long as she lowered her standards, how could she not get married? So, a man with some hysteria was about to become her third husband. But the eclipse reign came. Wei Ning was widowed for the third time. At this point, Wei Ning was no longer an ordinary person, but a star that everyone wanted to avoid. Good. Boss Wang listened to the man's story and was very satisfied. He said, I'll remember this person. I wonder if Lord Wang, Director Wang, hahaha, it's a bit confusing. Don't blame me. I wonder why Director Wang is asking about these people. Lord Chen told you not to ask too much. Now lead the way to Wei Ning's house. Boss Wang waved his hand. He would not tell Chen Jing what he had told him, because Chen Jing said so. Boss Wang, there is a job that is very suitable for you. You go find those people who are easy to bully and try to get them to join the Agricultural Persuasion Institute. Ah, but what is an easy to bully person? In response to him, Chen Jing's trusting eyes, Boss Wang was confused at first. Then he felt very wronged. Isn't this slandering him, Wang, for bullying the weak and fearing the strong and oppressing the good? Master Chen had a deep misunderstanding of him. In the early days, Boss Wang had to deal with escorts and the third-rate 9 sects. Later, he joined the gang during the disaster, and his main goal was to force people to cooperate with violence. He was not a big villain, but he could be a big villain at any time. In the spirit of knowing people and using them well, Chen Jing let him shine. Don't worry about so much, just think about it. If you do all kinds of evil, bully men and women, and run rampant in the countryside, who do you think is the best to start with? Just find them. After being comforted by Chen Jing, Boss Wang was speechless and could only agree. Then, he began to select lucky audiences. Not to mention, he found that he really had a talent in this area, and he was very good at picking soft persimmons. A widow, a husband killer, not to mention that outsiders don't like her, her family may not like her, she is alone and helpless, and she is an easy target to be bullied. Boss Wang thought to himself, in this day and age, if you really want to divide them, the bottom can also be divided into 3, 6, and 9 levels. Those with many clans, many villages, and many men and their families are not considered vulnerable groups. It is right to focus on those who are isolated, have no men and their families, and are left with disabilities. It's so simple. Anyone can do it. Why did they choose me, Wang? Now Mr. Chen's misunderstanding of me is getting deeper and deeper. Wang Laodab was worried. In the countryside, where's family? It must be a lie. What kind of agricultural promotion institute? I have never heard of it. I guess they saw Sanyu's mark and wanted to get her to be a maid. Did they say how much money they would give? They still want money. It's good enough if they can give it away. After Wang Laoda came, the 2 elders were in the house discussing this matter. They didn't understand what Wang Laoda said about the true teachings of the Immortal Sect, the Agricultural Promotion Institute, and the practice of cultivation, and they didn't believe it. They only knew that such a group of rich people had taken a fancy to their useless daughter. If a daughter doesn't get married, it will only cause gossip. If she is kept at home, it would be good to send her away, but this method seems unreliable. On the one hand, the daughter has no family status and is bringing all kinds of negative effects to the family. On the other hand, the family members are worried about sending their daughter away. How much money should they give? When the Wei family's parents were struggling with this, Wei Ning sighed softly outside the window. She went to the boss's house to look after the cows this morning. After returning, she cut a load of grass to feed the fish, and then took advantage of the night to collect some firewood on the hilltop. It is not a busy farming season now, but she has been busy from morning to night. She is hungry and dare not eat more food at home. Fortunately, there are some wild grass roots in the mountains. She can dig them up and eat them directly to make up for it. But in the eyes of her parents, she is a hapless and money-losing girl. Girls should get married when they grow up. If they can't get married, it is shameful. If they are unlucky, they should be criticized. At the age of 20, it is unfilial to eat the food at home. Wei Ning didn't think there was anything wrong with this. The countryside was relatively closed, and it had been like this for thousands of years. Everyone thought so, including herself. Although she had tried very hard to show her value, even harder than her brothers and sisters, but it seemed that it couldn't make up for her mistake. She had already obeyed, but listening to her parents' words, she felt a sense of sadness that she couldn't describe, and the loss of having nowhere to go. The Agricultural Persuasion Institute sounds like it should be a place to work. I wonder if I can get enough food. With this thought, Wei Ning's eyes showed a trace of expectation. She returned to her room, pressed hard on her empty stomach, tossed and turned for a long time, and then fell into a light sleep. The next day, another day of work, helping the master to herd cattle, cutting fish grass for the fish pond in the village, and then going to the mountains to collect some firewood to supplement the family income. By the way, I saw it last time. Wei Ning suddenly remembered something. There are still people living in this deep mountain where she collects firewood. She was so hungry before that she ventured deep into the mountains to find something to eat. As a result, they unexpectedly found a small wooden house surrounded by fruits and vegetables, like a paradise. An old man and a woman with her face covered lived in the wooden house. Wei Ning was treated by the old man and the woman. They claimed that they were homeless and could only open up a residence in the mountains to seek peace and quiet. The considerate Wei Ning expressed his understanding. In this day and age, if there is no clan protection and no skills, an old man and a weak woman have almost no place to stand in this world. The old man has no strength and no one wants to work. The weak woman is alone, and it is a problem to get married. She can only sell herself as a concubine. It can be said that she is even worse off than her. Although it is a bit uncomfortable for her to stay at home, at least she still has a home. If the Agricultural Persuasion Institute is really a good place, I must help them. Wei Ning thought so. Chapter 158, Talents of the World. After her family's decision, Wei Ning took 3 days worth of dry food and a change of clothes, and left the home where she had lived for 20 years. She felt reluctant but also relieved. Sanyu, the old father suddenly called out. The man with a hunched back was trying his best to straighten up and see his daughter clearly. Hey. The mother patted her father and then avoided her gaze. But soon, she forced out a smile. Go, Sanyu, everything is fine at home. Dad, Mom, I'm leaving. Wei Ning vaguely knew what had happened. He looked at his ignorant brother, his father who was bending down in silence, and his mother with a complicated look. He took a deep look and turned away. She was on the road with a boy who was much younger than her. The boy had a calm look and suddenly said, "Your father wants to say that if you can't stay in the Agricultural Persuasion Institute, you should go home." "Yeah, you know, I know." Wei Ning smiled and said, "I won't come back. I will only cause trouble to my parents." "What about you, Sancha? People say you can't speak, but I think you speak very fluently." The boy's eyes suddenly became dull again. He looked at her blankly and lowered his head. Sancha in the village is also a well-known figure. He is only awake for a few parts of the day. Most of the time, he is like this, stupid and stupid. He doesn't know to hide when it rains, doesn't know to wipe the shit in his crotch, and does what others tell him to do. But Wei Ning suddenly found that when Sancha was not stupid, he seemed to be very smart. A Sancha, just left the village like this. County, Agricultural Persuasion Institute. Chen Jing looked at the old, weak, sick and disabled in front of him with mixed feelings. As for the bottom line, naturally start from the real bottom, so he gave the task to Boss Wang. "I don't know this, but now I can't find anyone with healthy legs and feet. People like Wei Ning, who have healthy legs and feet and normal intelligence, are all outstanding. The power of life is really tenacious. How many normal people died in the disaster, but they can survive until now? What is this called? This is called the Son of Luck. Okay. Maybe there is a protagonist in it, and Woohoo will take off in the future, and lead me to the peak of life. Chen Jing had to comfort himself in this way. Mr. Chen, what do you think? Okay, I'll credit you for your merit. Patting Boss Wong on the shoulder, Chen Jing raised his hand, and his magic power emerged. A large number of Tao seeds broke through the bodies of the people, and drilled into their bodies. From now on, these people are all practitioners. I dare not guarantee what height they can reach in the future. At least in this world, the possibility of accidental death is greatly reduced. Are there any criminals among them? Chen Jing asked again. Don't worry, if the criminals really fell to this point, they would have been unable to survive long ago. The countryside has never been a paradise. It is ignorant and backward, and good and evil are chaotic. If a villain accidentally loses his arms and legs, the bullied good people will not mind being a villain. Boss Wong added, I have seen these people in person. They all have their own sufferings, but most of them are accidents, and they are supported by others. Okay, you are professional, I believe you. Boss Wong didn't know whether he should be moved. Let you bring the people, to guide them to practice and farm. The 4 major families have already compromised. Just raise relevant needs. They are more anxious than you. I understand. I will go back to the academy for a while. When I come back, I should bring some useful talismans and recruit some interns. You should do your best to run the model here. The remaining counties will be handed over to you. Remember to recruit talents and select the virtuous and capable. It will be difficult to do things without people. Wei Ning woke up from the pain. She watched the thing cut through her palm and drilled into her body through the gap in her palm. She was so scared that her eyes went black on the spot. I don't know how long it took. There was a snap. Awakened by a slap from Sancha. Sancha? Wei Ning covered her face with a confused look. Why does my face hurt so much? I don't know. Sancha said calmly. Also, don't call me Sancha. Call me by my name. Yifan. The boy named Yifan pulled her up and said, let's go. Let's eat. If you don't wake up, you will miss the meal. Oh. When Wei Ning heard about dry rice, she suddenly forgot the fear and pain on her face that she had just felt, and followed behind happily. Everyone arrived at the cafeteria. A large wooden barrel with an alluring aroma was lifted up, making the people present salivate. What was presented at this time was the top-notch food recommended by Wei Xiao, a famous gourmet in Yangzhou, the queen of Piao and rice. Gurgle. Countless sounds of swallowing saliva rang out. This was not over yet, and a large bucket of soup was lifted up next to it, exuding a rich meaty aroma. Come up and get your food. Line up, don't mess around. A fat man with a face full of flesh sat on the top, his eyes gleaming fiercely, intimidating the people who were tempted by the delicious food. The 2 people in charge of serving the food shook their heads secretly. They were the people sent by the 4 major families to support them. Seeing that the high-quality spiritual rice and fresh broth were given to this group of lowly people, they felt that it was a waste of natural resources. With a grudge in their hearts, they only served a small amount of rice. Seeing this scene, Boss Wong sat on the top and didn't say anything. Because of the experience of distributing porridge to disaster relief last year, he knew that in this situation, it is best not to give too much food. Otherwise there will be many people who choke to death. It saved him from giving instructions. However, from the attitude of these 2 people, it can be seen that the 4 major families are dissatisfied. From now on, everything will have to be kept under close watch to avoid mistakes. Boss Wong calculated secretly. He looks vulgar, but the more he gets around Chen Jing, the better he is. He is also quite smart. The food was distributed, and there was a slurping sound of people eating. They couldn't even get full with ordinary meals on weekdays, and they rarely ate meat a few times a year. The table now was simply a feast of delicacies from the mountains and the sea. This seems to be a really good place. I'll ask the 2 people from the mountain to come and enjoy it later. Wei Ning thought to himself. On the other side, Yifan buried his head and hummed. The chaos in his mind gradually dispersed under the replenishment of the spiritual power of the meal, and he had many insights. It turned out that the reason why he was stupid was because he was born with a special physique and was always in a state of enlightenment. But the mortal body could not bear the amount of information from the Tao, so he became what people called the Three Fools. It can be said that his intelligence was suppressed by the Tao. Now that the Tao seed has opened up the path of cultivation, a spiritual meal has become a cultivator in the youngling period, and finally his brain is not occupied, and he has room for normal thinking. Getting rid of the trouble of pulling his crotch, Yi Fan couldn't help but feel happy. Today's meal makes Mimingzu clean up the dust. This cause and effect is not small, and there will be retribution in the future. Chapter 159, Horse Racing. In the blink of an eye, a month has passed. Wei Ning has been in the agricultural persuasion office until now, and there is something to learn every day. In the first 7 days, the agricultural officials of the agricultural persuasion office taught them to practice and nourish Qi, which is actually simply nourishing the body. Every meal has spiritual rice, meat, eggs, and various spiritual vegetables. After eating, they listened to scriptures and practiced martial arts. In the first few days, many people had diarrhea, often do not eat good things, and when they eat good food, many people show various intolerances. Diarrhea is relatively mild, and there are red rashes on the body, which is very scary. So in those days, they dare not provide too good, until a doctor came to the agricultural persuasion office to solve the problem. After 7 days, the agricultural persuasion office did not rush to teach them to farm, but practiced martial arts and read books. A well-known martial arts master in the local county served as an instructor and taught them a set of rough bull kung fu rough skills, which can strengthen the bones and muscles, condense Qi in blood, and increase endurance. In theory, spiritual power practice does not need to polish Qi in blood. But after all, they were all latecomers, and they used the seeds of Taoism to force the spiritual energy into their bodies. The control of spiritual power was very clumsy, and it was not as smooth as those who could contain the spirit on their own. Instead of being good at nothing, it was better to practice martial arts, so that they could quickly master the physical condition after practicing. In addition to martial arts teaching, there were also literary teaching, teaching them to read and recite scriptures. What Wei Ning looked forward to most was reading. Although in the current world, practicing martial arts and practicing cultivation were both better than reading, she dared not even dream of practicing martial arts and practicing cultivation. The only thing she dared to think about on weekdays was reading. The things taught by literary teaching were mainly 3 categories, one of which was the addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division created by the second son of Chen, which taught people to learn arithmetic. She was surprised to find that this formula and abbreviated numbers were very easy to use. She learned it in just a few days, and there was no difficulty in addition and subtraction. Although it was her first time to go to school, she had heard that those children who went to private schools were lucky enough to be able to write 1 to 10 in 3 days. In addition, there are some common enlightenment reading materials, mainly teaching them to recognize words, and finally the list of rules and regulations of the Agricultural Persuasion Office. The model of the Agricultural Persuasion Office in Guo County is different from that in Anning Prefecture. Chen Jing has come up with a points system. According to the rules of the Agricultural Persuasion Office, if you complete the target requirements, you can exchange agricultural merits for gold, silver and treasures, and you can also be promoted. The corresponding levels within the Agricultural Persuasion Office were established by a certain Chen. There are 5 levels for trainee agricultural officials, and 5 levels for formal agricultural officials. Above them are agricultural scholars, agricultural masters, and great agricultural masters. Each level has a corresponding welfare system established according to their different skill levels, contributions, etc. Among them, the welfare of trainee agricultural officials is a spiritual meal every day and a dormitory for 4 people. Food and accommodation are included. After being promoted to the 2nd level trainee and the 3rd level trainee, the spiritual meal will become richer, from 1 meal to 2 meals, and from no spiritual fruit to spiritual fruit. The dormitory will also change from a 4-person room to a 2-person room, and finally a single room. If these are tempting enough, what is even more tempting is the land and real estate that belongs to them. All you need to do is become a formal agricultural official, and the Agricultural Persuasion Office will allocate 2 mu of spiritual fields, plus a 2-story farmhouse with a yard. If you continue to upgrade, you can also get a beehive cave for free. Although they don't quite understand the latter, it is definitely better than the former. This obvious and clear upgrade route is undoubtedly very attractive to everyone, so everyone is working hard to learn, and their enthusiasm for struggle is amazing. As for Chen Jing, the welfare system above is all provided by the 4 major families. He just needs to write the welfare on it. If the last 4 major families can really deliver hundreds of millions of spiritual rice, Chen Jing will also purchase it as agreed. Although Chen is short of funds, he happens to have a big project called Beehive. Not interested? Then other projects are also fine. It's only been about half a year, and so many money-making projects have been created, and there will be more in the future. As long as the pie is drawn fast enough, the people who eat the pie will never catch up with him. Not to mention that he is not completely drawing the pie. The pie is ready. At this stage, when a large number of foreign capitals are entering the market and Susao is being developed, the development strategy is no longer the previous round-based system, but a race to encircle land, to see who can encircle it faster. It's just that other people's eyes are on the wealthy families with the most purchasing power, and Chen Jing's direction is somewhat different. After a month of training, after waning, and others recovered their health, they finally came to the stage of farming. There are large tracts of spiritual fields in the county, but they are owned by the owner. The 4 major families provided ordinary fields to the Agricultural Persuasion Office, but it doesn't matter. The purpose is to save the stage of land reclamation and have enough cultivators to cultivate the spiritual fields. The agricultural officials brought by Boss Wang from the bureau began to teach Weining and others how to check the veins of the earth and sort them out. In the past, it was the people of the Chen family who taught them, but now they have begun to teach more people. Do you understand? Weining listened to the agricultural official's narration and tried to open up her spiritual vision and do the so-called key reading. But after all, her qualifications are limited. Although the spiritual power she took into her body is hers, it does not listen to her. As someone from the same village, she naturally asked about the situation of the 3 idiots. Yi Fan's eyes were filled with spiritual power. He had already seen 3 details that the agricultural officials had made mistakes in and had misclassified the phenomenon of the earth's spiritual power. This was not because the agricultural officials were not professional enough, but because he was too talented and saw things more deeply. Just listen to me when you work, Yi Fan whispered. He learned quickly and could also get agricultural rewards. Although he was born extraordinary, his secular concepts were still formed in this rural area. He wanted mansions, BMW cars, gold and silver jewelry. Similarly, unity was also an instinct engraved in his bones. As a fellow villager, he would naturally help Weining. Come and do it, if you understand it. After the agricultural officials finished their explanations, the trainee agricultural officials took the spiritual hose they were given and started to work. They stood on a piece of field, muttering and scratching their heads. What node hub? How to use the spiritual hoe? I remember, I think. The performance was very poor. In Chen Jing's words, Ma Dongmei turned the book and Sun Honglei closed the book. After all, they have only been cultivators for a month. Not to mention that their foundation is poor. Even if they come from a big family, they may not be able to use spiritual power well. The agricultural officials did not care. They all came this way, and they would learn it after using it. At this time, Yi Fan saw the position, raised the spiritual hoe, and dug it down. The spiritual power was transmitted to the ground along the spiritual hoe, hitting the hub of the earth vein network, opening up a new route for upward flow. Good. A nearby agricultural official who was always observing cheered immediately. Come again. Yes. Yi Fan walked to the side. If the earth vein is compared to a grid, then the most suitable position to start is the node where the grid intersects, followed by the line. If the earth vein grid cannot be hit, then the spiritual power channel that is hit will soon disappear naturally, wasting spiritual power in vain. A qualified spiritual plant husband at least ensure that when maintaining the spiritual field, every time the spiritual power hits the hoe, it hits the line of the earth vein. And if you want to hit the node every time, you need at least a year of hard work. Bang. Yifan attacked again, and hit the node accurately. Again. The agricultural official stepped forward with a bit of disbelief in his eyes. He thought it was a coincidence at first. But it happened twice. If it happened a third time. Bang. The spiritual hoe fell for the third time, and the third node was opened again. This boy, a genius in farming. The agricultural official was stunned. Chapter 160. If you can't fight, join. Another month passed, and Chen Jing received a message from Boss Wang at the academy. As the setter of the points, he did not completely hand over the distribution of points to the people below. People always have to experience a lot of temptations. In this case, he should try his best to avoid opportunities for temptation. When the points distributed by the people below are settled at the end of the month, he will take the time to go back and review them. The message Chen Jing received at this time was about the distribution of points. What the hell? One person got 1,000 points. The first reaction was that it was a lie. Is the embezzlement so obvious? Looking closely, his heart trembled. Yifan, this name sounds extraordinary. It's just right to make up for all the classes I owe. I'll go back and take a look. Chen Jing took out the Yingui. Is this junior brother's AO? There is a January internship here to put learning into practice. Yes, it's the one we agreed on last time. Okay, I'll wait for you. Hello. Junior sister Liu, I'm Chen Jing. Senior brother Wang, the part-time job you asked about last time has been settled. By the way, please ask other senior brothers for me. We are in need of people, especially those who specialize in geomancy and birth-inducing spells. It may be that the last internship was too effective. Under the spontaneous publicity, many senior brothers and junior brothers took the initiative to ask him. Chen Jing didn't spend much effort at this time and took a group of people to Wu County, Anning Prefecture. In the past 2 months, Zizan has continued to generate income. With the dividends from the Jushan Peak Spirit Beast Hall, it is still possible to pay a group of cheap interns to work. At the same time, as the Wu County Agricultural Persuasion Institute began to get on the right track, his cultivation also showed signs of further improvement. On the other side, do you want to recommend 2 more people? The Agricultural Persuasion Institute has its own rules for recruiting people. It's not that you can just invite anyone you want. Wei Yining still remembered the 2 people who had entertained her in the mountains. Now 2 months have passed. Under Yifan's care, she has also established a firm foothold. She found an opportunity to go to Boss Wang and talk about this matter. I know the rules of the Agricultural Persuasion Institute. I just hope that you can give me a chance. Don't call me a humble person, and don't call me sir. Have you read books in vain? You can call yourself me. Just remember to call yourself by your position in the institute. Boss Wang emphasized it, and when Wei Yining nodded, he waved his hand and said, what's the situation of those 2 people? Yes. As Wei Yining talked, Boss Wang pondered for a moment. The 2 people you mentioned don't really conform to the rules of this institute, but considering your usual diligence, I can go there. His standard for finding people is easy to bully. People hiding in the deep mountains and old forests. What is there to bully? But now Wei Yining and Yifan are familiar with each other. Yifan is his political achievement, and he has some preference for Wei Yining. Just like that, under Wei Yining's guidance, Boss Wang set out on the road to the deep mountains. Squeak, 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 the bird flew across the sky and landed on the roof of the wooden house. The old man who was pruning the branches and leaves of the potted plants raised his eyes, as if listening to the sound of the birds. Guests are coming. Shaking his head, throwing down the scissors, and inserting his hands into the soil, grabbing hard, so that the soil filled the gaps between his nails. When he stood up again, he had become an ordinary old farmer. After the Minister of Agriculture finished everything, he turned back and knocked on the door on the 2nd floor. Princess, there are guests coming. Who? An impatient female voice. The girl who got lost last time. An TSK. The princess opened the door, and her phoenix eyes, which seemed a little sharp because of unhappiness, stared at the old man. Don't beat around the bush, just tell me directly. Now that I've said it clearly, will the princess do it directly? Oh. What can I do? The princess's face hidden under the veil showed self-mockery. Hiding in this deep mountain forest, a rat crossing the street, that everyone shouts and beats. What can I do to be useful? The Grand Minister of Agriculture sighed in his heart and said, change into more ordinary clothes, and when the people outside come, we will go out and join the Agricultural Persuasion Office. What is that place? A place for farming. Old thing, are you confused about farming? Let me farm. The princess was like a cat whose tail was stepped on. Her fur suddenly exploded, and her voice became sharp. Bang! The door slammed against the door frame. Get out! Her angry voice came. The Grand Minister of Agriculture stood in front of the door. Although he was the Grand Minister of Fengshan sect and a great man in the transcendent realm on the road of cultivation, but he was still a minister of the Divine Dynasty and the master of the Princess Yan Lingxi. Since the last plan failed, Yan Lingxi's temper has become more and more irritable. Now that she is asked to bow her head and farm, it is undoubtedly a further stimulation. But, the Agricultural Persuasion Institute was founded by Chen Jing. Bang! The door suddenly opened, and Yan Lingxi couldn't help but hear the familiar name. Go on. Last time, Chen Jing gathered people's hearts and caused Jimu to make a mistake. I have observed him for a long time. This boy may be the one born for Suzhou. With him, our plan will be difficult to achieve. Why don't you kill him? Protect the country. Hearing this, the princess blushed again, like a victim whose girlfriend was kidnapped by Huang Mao. She was about to kill Huang Mao, but Huang Mao was protected by his girlfriend. Her chest rose and fell, and she finally suppressed her emotions. We sneak into the Agricultural Persuasion Institute. Can we ruin his good deeds? The eyes of the Grand Minister of Agriculture flashed a trace of helplessness. This mental state. But he couldn't say anything. Fengshan sect, no matter how glorious its predecessor was, is now the first evil sect in Shenzhou. It is full of lunatics or half lunatics. I'm no exception. He shook his head. We don't have to ruin his good deeds. Instead, we should help him. We came here to seize the Xi Jinping, and we need the support of the people. Since this boy is born for the times, we will join the Agricultural Persuasion Institute and help him, which is also helping ourselves. Then let me, the princess, do it. Don't worry, when Chen Jing's avenue is about to be completed, it will be the time for him to die. After his death, the hearts of millions of people in Suzhou will be yours. Oh, why does he want to die for no reason? Can we do something to him again? It's not us who do it, you will know in the future. The Grand Minister of Agriculture did not say it clearly. After seeing the hope of success, Yan Lingxi gradually calmed down and regained her rationality. She said lightly, I hope the Grand Minister of Agriculture will not make the wrong judgment again this time. Not long after, Yan Lingxi, who changed into ordinary clothes, but still couldn't hide her figure and appearance, went downstairs. Sister Lingxi, Wei Ning's voice sounded in the distance. Yan Lingxi pretended to be surprised. Wei Ning, why are you back? I have something great to tell you. Is this really okay? Of course, if Sister Lingxi and Grand Paulin agree, I will call Director Wang over. Okay, I believe you. Yan Lingxi smiled and nodded, watching Wei Ning's back as she turned around. Her eyes were dim. Chapter 161 First Meeting. Qua County. Chen Jing, who came here on a black dragon, landed here with a group of fellow apprentices who came to work during the summer vacation. The Agricultural Persuasion Office was set up in Anttown outside the county. The erosion rain caused great damage here. Most of the town was abandoned in the subsequent Treeman Rebellion, and the surrounding fertile land was also abandoned, so it was used by the four major families to set up a base for the Agricultural Persuasion Office. As for the county, there is only one office. When the fellow apprentices arrived here, they looked left and right and found that the environment was not very good, but they still gritted their teeth and praised it. This place is full of beautiful scenery, beautiful water and green mountains. It's a good place. Really good at praising. It's a loss for the real estate sales industry if it's not a real estate sales. Chen Jing smiled and said, this place is not as convenient as the sect. Brothers have to work hard. Take a break for a while and start after lunch. Arrange the summer job. Call Boss Wang to prepare to calculate the points distribution. Where is Yifan? I'll go get him. Wait. Chen Jing stopped Boss Wang, who was halfway through turning around, and said, take me there directly. I'll see this person alone. Yes. On the way, Chen Jing asked about many matters of the Agricultural Persuasion Office. Seeing that Boss Wang answered fluently, he nodded. There is no treasure mirror monitoring here, and there is no assistance from the Lord level figure like Aang Huayan. Various management problems are highlighted at once. In the words of Boss Wang, the tens of thousands of people in the new town in the east of the city are easier to manage than the hundreds of people here. The new town cannot be compared with Antown. The current rules are established and perfected. The rest is some repair work. Chen Jing actually didn't have a very good solution, so he could only say a few nonsense. The people who stayed in the new town were picked and selected again. The most suitable people were picked out from hundreds of thousands of disaster victims. Whether it is management methods or population quality, they are not comparable here. However, after all, the Antown Agricultural Persuasion Office does not involve the distribution of interests such as land. Chen Jing used the upgrade system of agricultural breaking the sky to package and replace it, which has greatly reduced the management cost. As long as the process is run through and the bugs are fixed, it can be replicated in batches soon. As an agricultural official at the management level, I have also troubled my grandfather's family of cultural people to help with the training. It is definitely unusable in the early stage, but people need to be sharpened. Anyway, even if there is a loss, it is not Chen's money that is lost, but the money of the dog owner. Farmland outside the town. Director Wang is here. Yifan, who was working hard, looked up and saw Boss Wang inspecting in front with his hands behind his back. He hurriedly gripped the hoe and turned his head to pretend to be focused. The people around him also showed their best efforts. Chen Jing looked at them curiously and asked, "Did you put pressure on them?" "Absolutely not." Boss Wang shook his head repeatedly. Maybe they thought that, if they didn't work hard, they would be punished with whips. Ordinary landlords do the same to their tenants. Tenant farmers. It will take some time for trainee agricultural officials to change their minds. You have to be careful, lest someone with ulterior motives take advantage of them and deceive their superiors. I don't care, but if there is a peerless genius among them, you're done. Ah. Why am I done? As the director of the Agricultural Persuasion Bureau, Wan Yang, why don't I trouble you but me? Hiss. Boss Wang took a breath and nodded repeatedly. When he got close to Yifan, without Boss Wang's introduction, Chen Jing could see the difference in Yifan. The spiritual power emanating from the boy was far beyond that of ordinary people. The spiritual power frequency band he emitted seemed to echo with something somewhere in the world, showing a unique symbol. No wonder senior sister Hua saw at a glance what kind of saint I am. It's really easy to see. However, he couldn't recognize which kind of saint this frequency band and symbol represented. After all, there were many people born with different visions. The world divides the qualifications of cultivation into 5 levels. Chen Jing's Dao seeds can also give the implanters qualifications of various levels. White, green, blue, purple, and gold. 5 quality levels just correspond to the world's classification. White is the entry level qualification, barely able to practice. Green is the ordinary level. Chen Jing's family members are all at this level. Blue is excellent quality. You can enter the Qingnang sect as an ordinary disciple. Purple quality represents the pride of heaven. That is, the qualification of the true transmission level. Finally, gold, the posture of a saint, the divine reincarnation, is divided into this level. There is no higher. This Yifan, the qualification of the true transmission level, at least. Chen Jing couldn't help but sigh. He is really promising. He can even get a true transmission level to farm for himself. Just last year, he was still happy that he became a true transmission. Discovering talents doesn't mean they can be retained. I have to improve my agricultural promotion office and pay more attention to it. He would not recommend Yifan to the sect. The more power directly under his control, the better. Of course, if he can't be retained, it's also good to make a good relationship with him. He just follows his own pace and doesn't force anything else. Chen Jing observed the boy for a while, walked to the side, and handed him a fruit. "Sir, this." Yifan didn't understand. "Are you tired? Eat one." "Thank you." Yifan glanced at Director Wang who was following behind him and was curious about who could make this person so respectful. He was not slow in hand. He took the longevity fruit, wiped it on his clothes casually, and put it in his mouth. I see that your sea of consciousness seems to be a little chaotic. Eat more spiritual fruits on weekdays. Refine your essence into ki, refine your ki, and nourish your spirit, and the situation will get better. Chen Jing patted Yifan on the shoulder, then said to Boss Wang, let's go, and went to the next place. Boss Wang said, this is the trainee agricultural officer who has just started, and that is the agricultural officer who has been in the institute for a month, and is still learning. Oh. Let's take a look. Chen Jing was very interested. He had just found a senior talent who started with a purple card, so he just wanted to see what characters came out of the new pool. The current recruitment scale of the Agricultural Persuasion Institute is scheduled to be between 1,000 and 2,000 people, but there are only about 500 at present, so new people join every day. Not long after arriving, he saw several agricultural officers surrounding the two people and exclaimed, "It is really a ground vein magic, wonderful. You two can be recommended to the higher authorities. When Director Wang comes, there will be rewards. As expected, you are related to Yifan." At this time, Boss Wang stepped forward quickly and cleared his throat. What happened? Director Wang is here. The agricultural officers separated a path and explained in a flurry. It was the old man and the woman that Boss Wang brought from the deep mountains himself. It turned out that they were not mortals, but cultivators who knew one or two spiritual plant magics. Just now, the woman demonstrated it in front of everyone, attracting onlookers. Boss Wang raised his eyebrows and walked over. "I remember that your father and father's surname is Lin, right? Limping and Lindsay. Why didn't you tell me before that you know how to practice and know magic? We are willing to come out of the mountains for the sake of waning. Whether we should stay here or not, we should understand the situation of the Agricultural Persuasion Institute before deciding. Isn't it okay?" The slender woman was not afraid of Boss Wang's momentum at all, and said with reason. Boss Wang saw that this woman was quite courageous, and he looked at her differently. But he did not respond, but turned aside, and looked at Chen Jing, who was blocked behind. "Young Master Chen, what do you mean?" Chen Jing took a look with the key watching technique. The old man and the woman both had aura fluctuations in the Tankyo period, which looked ordinary, but for some reason, there was a vague sense of familiarity. The regulations of the Agricultural Persuasion Institute clearly state that in the first month, you can stay or leave voluntarily. Chapter 162, Earth Vein Magic, Return to Origin. Wait, don't leave yet. When Chen Jing left his words of willingness to stay and turned around to continue the inspection, the woman named Lindsay, with her long legs, blocked Chen Jing in 3 or 2 steps and stared at him with her imposing phoenix eyes. "Hey, you unruly person." Boss Wang panicked and took 2 steps forward. Chen Jing was calm, waved his hand, stepped back slightly, and said, "Anything else? Of course, we know spiritual plant spells. Don't we have preferential treatment? Just follow the promotion rules." "Oh. You mean, I can compete with a group of mortals 4 points with my ability as a cultivator, and it doesn't matter?" Lindsay crossed her arms, tilted her head slightly, and looked at him leisurely. Chen Jing paused. He was really stunned by the question. Many points are time limited and have incentives. For example, whoever masters the spell faster can get more awards. He never considered what would happen if some participants already knew spells. He turned to look at Boss Wang. "Do you have any arrangement in this regard in the regulations?" Boss Wang blinked and had something to complain about. "Where can I arrange it? Obviously, you are the one who basically set the points. Why are you asking me if I have any arrangement? But as a younger brother, you must learn to take the blame in time and not let the boss's face fall to the ground. I didn't expect that there would be a Tankyo monk willing to come to the Agricultural Persuasion Institute, so I didn't consider it. Since it is the institute that has not considered it carefully, then go and come up with a plan." Chen Jing waved his hand and looked at Lindsay in front of him. "Let's talk when you have time." "Okay." Lindsay was not polite and turned around and shouted, "Old man, I'll talk to him. Go." Limping nodded helplessly. "Is this guy the one who ruined my sect's plan? He is ordinary and there is nothing special about him. What's so good about him?" Yan Lingxi, who used the pseudonym Lindsay, muttered in his heart. With a grudge in his heart, the more he looked at him, the more uncomfortable he felt. Chen Jing had not realized that the princess of Fengshan sect was eyeing him covetously. He asked, "Where are you from? Are you not from Gua County? It's far away. There is a mountain next to Gua County, called Ginong Mountain. There is a celestial formation from the period of the Divine Dynasty. It can be transmitted every 60 years. My grandfather and I came from Yuzhou with the help of this formation." Yuzhou? So far, Chen Jing was surprised. He didn't expect that these two people were not even from Suzhou. Yanzhou, Suzhou, Yuzhou are all located in the southeast of Shenzhou, collectively known as the southeastern 9 provinces. Among them, only Yanshang sect in Yanzhou and Mao sect in Yanzhou can be called immortal sects. Even in the heart of the Central Plains, they are first class. The rest are similar to Qingnang sect in Suzhou, and they are the same. Among them, Suzhou is second only to Yanzhou and Yanzhou. The sect has a treasure as its foundation, which is equivalent to a power beyond the level of the third realm. Are you two staying in Suzhou temporarily, or in your old residence? Live here for a long time, at least 10 years, and maybe not going back. I heard that you can use spiritual plant magic. Of course, to be precise, it is earth vein magic. This is my family's unique inheritance. You Qingnang sect should not have seen it. I can teach you, but you need to give me what I deserve. Aren't you afraid that I will snatch it? Whoever snatches it. Yan Lingxi wanted to jump up and show all his strength to scare him, but at this time he had to suppress his temper. I gave it to you, but you don't want it. You snatch it. Are you stupid? I just want a place to stay in your Kwanong house. Why does this little girl seem to have a problem with me? Chen Jing was puzzled and could only temporarily attribute it to different customs and cultures. He decided not to joke and only talk about important things. See how the magic you gave is? I'll show you now. Look, it's the first grade earth vein magic return to the origin, he snorted. Yan Lingxi pointed to the ground with confidence, and the spiritual power penetrated into the ground. When one reaches the stage of Tankyuo, even without the help of a spiritual hoe, one can easily penetrate spiritual power into the ground. Of course, the loss is still greater than without tools. When the spiritual power penetrated into the ground, it suddenly seemed to generate some kind of spiral attraction, attracting the surrounding ground veins like a grid, turning it into the shape of a spray bottle. Then, a ground vein spiritual power gushed out. Fuck. Ignoring the terrain, 100% hitting the nodes of the ground vein network. No, this is simply forcibly creating nodes. Chen Jing immediately saw the mystery of this spell. There is a similar land advantage spell in the Qingnang sect, which also creates ground vein nodes by itself, but it starts at the second grade. It's not over yet. The spiritual power fluctuations on Yan Lingxi's body increased. Second grade spell, return to the sect. At the same time, the ground veins within a radius of about 10 meters seemed to be pulled up by an invisible big hand, spiraling upward, converging into a point, and then from that point, continuing to condense countless upward networks. It can be understood as the shape of an hourglass, but an hourglass that flows from bottom to top. Chen Jing was slightly surprised. This spell to guide the earth veins can be said to be effective immediately. The corresponding second grade earth vein spell tracing the flow of the Qingnang sect has the same effect, but tracing the flow is a third grade spell. The so-called leading in Taoism is the advantage in all aspects. How is it? Yan Lingxi put her hands on her waist and raised her head slightly. Okay. Chen Jing did not use negotiation skills and nodded directly to express his attitude. I will try my best to satisfy what you want. I said, I just need a place to stay in Kwanong. You can arrange things for me to do, and I will treat this place as my second home. Okay. Chen Jing did not take her words to heart. It's not like he has never worked before, but it's no problem to get these two spells and provide her and her father with a position such as a technical consultant. After the safety verification of these two spells is passed, they will be handed over to the sect in exchange for a large sum of cash. At the same time, popularize them among spiritual plant cultivators to speed up the speed of cultivating spiritual fields. How can it be described with just one word? With these two earth vein magics, I can directly give you a position of farmer. I will let Director Wang contact you later and give you the corresponding benefits. It's a deal. Yan Lingxi smiled. Chen Jing's work efficiency is still very high. After talking about it at noon, new rules were issued in the afternoon to improve the relevant terms for bringing skills into the job. And according to the level of farmers, rewards were given to the father and son of the Lin family, and the points rewards calculated by the trainee agricultural officials were settled and distributed together. For a while, the agricultural persuasion office was full of joy. For these trainee agricultural officials, having a place to stay, eating and dressing warmly, and being able to learn literature and martial arts is already a fairy life that they dare to dream of. Not to mention that they can get money. They tried to use agricultural skills. Some bought rice, flour and cloth, and some exchanged them for gold and silver. When they realized that the points were not just empty promises, they were immediately full of energy. Did you see it? Standing in an independent courtyard, the Minister of Agriculture looked at the people outside and said in a low voice, "What did you see?" Yan Lingxi fiddled with the welfare that was distributed to her, a set of robes that she didn't even like, and threw them aside. That's the people's hearts. The people's hearts can be bought with money and food. Fool the people, she sneered. The Minister of Agriculture just said, "Since you know it, just study hard, give them money, give them food, give them hope, and one day, if you don't go looking for the Xi Jiding will come looking for you." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 163 Cover Up. In addition to daily material needs, people also have living needs. Most of the time, those who meet this need are the aunties who gather together on the street to chat. While doing their work, they talk about the gossips they heard from somewhere and make preliminary artistic processing. The people who talk about it enjoy it, and the people who listen to it enjoy it. However, recently, the gossip material of the aunties in Gua County has unknowingly become all kinds of things in the next door and town. Have you heard about that lame Oldly? I remember. Some big shot from the agricultural persuasion office came a few months ago and picked Oldly. He left for several months and there was no news. Guess what? Oldly came back home a few days ago, dressed so brightly. "What's up, fatty?" "I know, I heard that he has the appearance of a great emperor and has practiced cultivation." "What did you hear?" "The one with the appearance of a great emperor is obviously the three idiots from Xiaoai village. My Erlang married a woman from Xiaoai village. I found out that the three idiots are not really stupid, but the reincarnation of the star god in the sky. The pearl was covered in dust and was discovered by a big shot today. It's amazing. He said it with details. In this process, the welfare of the agricultural persuasion office was paid more attention. A trainee agricultural officer who completed his work normally would have a minimum of 10 points in a month. 1 point could be exchanged for 20 kilograms of refined rice. According to a family of 5, a trainee agricultural officer could feed the whole family. The trainee agricultural officer himself is not included because the food is provided by the station and the first level trainee is provided with 1 spiritual meal. After a slight promotion to the third level agricultural officer, 2 spiritual meals a day are more than enough for daily needs. If you are willing to work hard, you can get at least 20 points per month. On the basis of food and clothing, you can also save a sum of money, occasionally improve the family's food, add 2 pieces of clothing and furniture, etc. In addition, there is also a freak like Yi Fan, who got 1,000 points in the first month, which alarmed Chen Jing. What do the 4 major families say? Chen Jing looked at the account book and rubbed his eyebrows with a headache. With a little worldly property, they can order the cultivators to help them open spiritual fields and grow spiritual rice. They are all very happy. A few days ago, they asked me if I could add more people, saying that there are enough fields. Boss Wang laughed. Sufficient fields. Where do they come from? It comes from the common people. When they see that the common people have become cultivators and have turned a lot of common fields into spiritual fields, which is profitable, they will continue to force the common people to join the agricultural persuasion office. Chen Jing said this, throwing away the account book. Boss Wang asked in doubt, isn't it a good thing that the Agricultural Persuasion Office has grown stronger? Of course it's okay for now, but when all the common people become cultivators, how can the common people use their money to order the cultivators? The four major families will be anxious at that time. I can see this clearly. They can do it, but I don't know what they will do. Chen Jing can think of several ways. For example, set up traps in advance, which is what happened in Yunzhou next door. Common people want to practice? Sure. How can you practice without money? There is a loan here. What about it? The result is that the bottom practitioners, no matter whether you come out or not, are working for the gangs. Chen Jing also knows this trick. What about beehives? But he won't do this. Beehives are mainly used to give free to outstanding employees, and then they are sold. He makes money for cultivation, not just for making money, which is putting the cart before the horse. If you are interested in this matter, just figure it out yourself. I have seen the Qi County Agricultural Persuasion Office. Basically, there is no big problem. Arrange personnel to take over. Next, you go to other counties to open agricultural persuasion offices. All counties in Anning Prefecture must have one, and large towns with large populations must also set up one. All follow this standard. Chen Jing said. Understood. Boss Wang nodded heavily. There are no surprises in his work, but there will not be too many mistakes. In the blink of an eye, it has passed the middle of the year, and Suzhou has ushered in midsummer again. Around in town, Qi County, villages with earthen walls and grass roofs are scattered among the fertile fields, with orioles singing and swallows chirping, butterflies fluttering and bees busy. Looking around, there are thousands of hectares of fertile fields and terraces. The rice fields are rolling with golden waves, and the green pines and cypresses are tall and straight, holding sickles and wearing uniform clothes. The spiritual farmers are harvesting rice in the fields. When they look up, their cheeks facing the sun are not only sweaty, but also the joy of a good harvest. Suddenly, a black dragon appeared from the sky. Chen Jing slowly descended from the sky, looking at the scene of the harvest, very pleased. Senior brother Liu, it's time to go back to the sect. Ah, the 1 month period has passed so quickly. The senior brother who was observing the earth veins and pondering the spells looked up blankly. Seeing Chen Jing coming, he was still a little overwhelmed. Junior brother Chen, how about renewing it for another month? No money, just provide food. It's time to go back to Balian Peak, and there is also a mid-year test. We all missed it. We have to make up for it. Chen Jing smiled bitterly. When he first came, he didn't expect to get 2 new earth vein spells, Gyuan and Zhongyuan. Naturally, he passed them directly to these brothers, who came to work and verified the safety together, and then used them immediately. It was easy for him, and for his brothers, it was tantamount to learning points for free. These 2 earth vein spells are completely superior substitutes for the same type of spells. Chen Jing said that he would hand them over to the sect in exchange for learning points. When the academy tests the spells, they will definitely be replaced by these 2 new spells. They mastered it in advance and got extra points in advance, so isn't that learning for free? They had heard that working for Chen Jing was very profitable, but it was still beyond their expectations. After Chen Jing taught them the spells, he used the Wind Spirit Moon Shadow to add points to quickly master them, and then explained the key points to them. After a while, they didn't want to go back to the sect. The fastest learners here, at most, don't have a spirit gathering array, and the environment is a bit worse. But it's not a big problem. Bamboo fences and tile houses, lakes and mountains, are also very interesting. Call the brothers. Chen Jing summoned the black dragon, and carried everyone back to Wanjiang Mansion, Dongshan Balian Peak. During this period, I missed several important spell classes. Fortunately, the academy will take care of the disciples' schedule, so the lessons will be replayed several times. Thinking about the academy, he took everyone to the inspection office first. Elder, I missed the mid-year test, so I'm here to make up for it. Come here. The elder nodded and said, try to complete the test on time. The academy will arrange some special tasks based on your latest results. Oh, elder, can you tell me more? Chen Jing asked curiously. For example, the spiritual plant hall has issued several tasks to transform spiritual plants. There will be elders leading the team and recruiting some disciples to study together. Once completed, the entire team can get learning points as rewards. This is the main source of learning points in the academy, the elder explained. I see. After hearing this, Chen Jing immediately understood where the extra learning points he suddenly had came from. Some time ago, Master Yunting Taoist gave him a new Academy Jade token as a second identity. This identity Jade token automatically joined a certain spiritual plant transformation group, and then automatically completed the project and automatically received rewards. Master used this method to cover my hybrid spiritual plants. Chen Jing understood. As the most cutting-edge magic research institution in the sect, it is normal for the academy to research a few new things. It is just right to publish works there under a false identity to conceal one's tracks. Chapter 164 Mid-Year Inspection. Then came the normal small test. As a compulsory subject, spells and spiritual consciousness were tested first. The testing elder handed him a mixed iron stick. Chen Jing infused it with magic power to deform it. In the late stage of Zuan Iron, ordinary people can only barely suspend the mixed iron stick and get a C-level evaluation. When Chen was first tested, he bent the mixed iron stick and got a B-level evaluation. Last time it was bent into a U shape. Now, the mixed iron stick in front of him slowly formed an oval under the pressure of huge magic power. The two ends touched, but it was still a little short of being completely folded in half. The testing elder nodded slightly. Elder, folding in half is B-level. What is mine? B-level plus. This symbol? It is an arithmetic symbol contributed by a student named Chen Jing. It is quite useful. Remember to learn it. Chen Jing blinked. When did I contribute it? Okay. It was probably done by Yang Huayan. He talked to Yang Huayan about education before, and mentioned that, if you want to popularize education, you must first lower the learning threshold, such as numbers. People live to show off. If you can't copy poems and songs, it doesn't matter if you copy some addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. He easily wrote a set of multiplication tables. At that time, looking at Yang Huayan's expressionless face, I thought she didn't take it to heart. Elder, will this guy who contributed to arithmetic learn some rewards? Of course there are. All kinds of subjects. All innovations will be rewarded, but it will be at the end of the year. That's good. That's good. Chen Jing smiled happily. What are you happy about? Bring me the jade card. I'll record your grades. The elder took Chen Jing's jade card, entered the recorded grades, and then saw his name. HMM. Same name. Chen Jing has reached the detection point of spiritual consciousness. His spiritual consciousness power also received a B-level evaluation, the same as the score of mana. Although spiritual consciousness is usually useless, his spiritual consciousness and mana have always grown together. If not, it would be difficult for him to take on a divine position, and he would have to complete operations such as planting and fighting online and offline at all times without affecting his life. Completed the tests of 2 required courses. Next, it was the spell results. Chen Jing's initial spell results were blank, nothing, a novice in spells. Now, after half a year, he has systematically mastered the spells of spiritual plants, the 3 sub-subjects of time, location and people, and all the basic spells from the 1st to the 3rd grade. Therefore, in the main subject of spiritual plants, he was evaluated as B+, surpassing the spells and spiritual consciousness scores that were far ahead before. If you want to be rated as A in the spiritual plant, it is not just as simple as mastering it, but also to master it. For example, if you master the small cloud rain spell, it is only the 1st level, but there are 5 levels of spells, and you can master them all after you have mastered them thoroughly. In this regard, Chen Jing still has a lot to learn. I want to submit 2 new location spells. Chen Jing handed over a J-tube at this time. Brand new? They are all in it. Please check it, Elder. Okay, wait for the news. The elder put it away. Just like that, the mid-year test was completed, and Chen Jing was rewarded with 3000 learning points. This was just the basic reward. There were also rewards for checking new spells, rewards for improved grades, and a series of additional algorithms, but those would not be distributed until the beginning of next year. He couldn't wait to take out the jade card and browse the products in it. Big formation, big formation, big formation. If there was anything missing, it could only be a big formation. Chen Jing currently only had one Big Dipper formation on hand, which he used as a foundation for the Chen family. He also needed a bigger one. The Big Dipper formation originally had so many models. The one I picked up from the Duan family was just the basic model. There were also advanced models, luxury models, complete models, and special models. After looking around, the Big Dipper formation was the most suitable for his goal. Because the Big Dipper formation series was a celestial formation. The theory of the three major systems of heaven, earth, and man, among which the celestial formation refers to the power of the stars, which is very stable, and consumes very little spirit stones, almost zero. Disadvantages. Except for energy saving, it was all disadvantages. The earth vein formation can support more powerful functions, and the human formation is cheaper and more flexible. It's a pity that both of them burn spirit stones. Planting worthless spiritual plants and burning spiritual stones, isn't that a huge loss? The price is cheap, so I'll take it. Chen Jing selected a 5th grade Big Dipper formation, based on his own situation. With one operation, all the learning points on his account evaporated. At the same time, outside an Ning mansion, Zinzan, farmland. This is the rice that the second son Wei wants. It's called Piuan Rice Queen. Yes, I secretly got some to taste. It tastes good. If everything goes well, the second son Wei will make a lot of money again. The key is not to make a lot of money. The wise general has analyzed that the second son can make the King Nang sect give in, which must be related to this business. With this, he will replace the eldest son in no time. Hehe, with you and me here, how can he get what he wants? The one who spoke. It was 2 black insects. They were floating in the wind, entrusted with a trace of divine thoughts by an unknown person, observing the rice fields being harvested. Let's go, leave the eggs behind. Once the eggs of the evil ghost hatch, it will only take 1 month for this place to be completely barren. I want to see how the people of the King Nang sect react when they find out that the spiritual fields here have been destroyed by the power of the ghosts and gods from Yunzhao. Will they still recognize the terms? Be careful, there are ancient treasures in the city. Although they are not the greatest treasures, they can monitor the surroundings. Don't expose them. The 2 little bugs whispered to each other and fell into the rice field with the wind. Suddenly, the scarecrow inserted in the field turned around and opened its blood-red eyes. There was a loud bang, and the whole body was ignited with fire. Pests. Pests. The scarecrow shouted angrily, and the flames turned into long dragons and whistled away. Fuck, what the hell is this? It's a monster. It found us. The 2 little bugs turned into ashes while shouting their own fucks. The surrounding agricultural officials immediately came up to check, discussed, and reported the situation here. The grass burners had burned pests before, but never had such a strong reaction. Having just experienced a natural disaster, they were very sensitive to this. Uploaded layer by layer. Chen Jing knew what was happening here. He immediately returned on the black dragon and asked the grass burners for details. It's a particularly disgusting smell. It's not just ordinary pests. Not a single blade of grass can grow. The grass burners were on fire as they spoke. Where did this thing come from? Please help me keep watching. Chen Jing immediately went to the capital city to get the treasure mirror. The treasure mirror monitors the surroundings at all times, but there are some things that it sees, but cannot realize in time what they are. Fortunately, everything it prints can reappear. 2 black insects. Chen Jing watched the playback video and decided to send a letter to Wei Shao. Chapter 165 Diversified Development. Look, this is my brother. With a snap, Wei Shao slapped the letter on the table and turned to sit. His face showed no emotion, but the temperature around him suddenly dropped. In front of him, there was an old monk with long white eyebrows. The old monk was wearing a brocade cassock, on which was embroidered a naked woman with a rosy face and an obscene look. A large gold chain hung around his neck, on which were fist-sized gold beads carved into a human head with a sad face. He held a small knife in his hand and slowly cut the meat. He cut the raw meat into small pieces and then put it into his mouth, lowering his eyes slightly to taste it. This meat tastes fresh, and it's comparable to the clean meat. He nodded, looking satisfied. Why don't you try it, second master? I can't eat it. Oh. This is a big deal. The old monk put down the knife. He stretched out his hand and opened the letter on the table. He looked at it for a while and shook his head. It's a tool for inheritance. Why should we get angry for the sake of family affection? After practicing, the first 3 realms can still be said to be human. When it comes to the middle 3 realms, the Shenzang period begins. From the perspective of physiological structure, practitioners are no longer normal humans. One of the points is that they no longer have the ability to reproduce easily like normal humans. If they really want to reproduce, they will be like monsters, pregnant for several years, and give birth to 1 or 2 in a lifetime, which will seriously damage their vitality. The various families in Yunzhou choose to give birth as much as possible in the first 3 realms, and don't care about raising them after giving birth. They will only take them home to cultivate when they are needed, and have good seedlings. The blood of the aristocratic families that are not selected is no different from ordinary people. They are spread across the 3 streams and 9 religions, and all walks of life. The family affection within the aristocratic families, maintained in this way, is imaginable. Master Yu is a person outside the world, without any worries, and naturally lives a free and easy life. I'm in one of them, but I can't swallow this breath. Wei Xiao's eyes were uncertain. Do I have anything to share with you? The old monk smiled. He was invited to eat meat for no reason, so he was definitely not here to eat and not work. Master Yu, please go to Suzhou. The friends I met in Suzhou have never seen the treacherous methods here, so you need to be on guard against them. Okay. On the other side, after Chen Jing sent the letter to young Master Wei, he did not sit still and wait for death. The academy taught how to prevent spiritual plants from being affected by disasters. Just like cultivating spiritual plants, it also depends on the right time, right place, and right people. The erosion spiritual rain is a typical example, changing the celestial phenomena and destroying the earth veins. Of course, this method is too advanced, and man-made ones are relatively rare. Most of them are formed naturally. Then there is only human harmony, that is, man-made destruction. Insects, epidemics. There are spiritual plant versions of plants, weeds, and epidemics. Chen Jing heard that the battlefield outside the domain is full of extraordinary epidemics, let alone mortals. If a cultivator is accidentally infected, he can only wait to die. He was not professional enough in this area, and did not have the idea of biting the bullet to solve it. If he was really attacked by someone, he would just go to his master to settle the matter. What he could do now was to try to avoid it. Diseases and pests are often targeted. For example, those that can infect spiritual rice are unlikely to be effective on spiritual fruits, and vice versa. As for those that kill indiscriminately, they are often less concealed and kill at first sight. As long as you are prepared and check carefully, it is difficult to be infected. After some thought, he decided to diversify his planting to reduce the risk. It just so happens that this batch of spiritual rice has been harvested, and the spiritual fields are vacant. It is appropriate to start the second plan. Chen Jing did not forget that his plan for food, clothing, housing and transportation has not been fully implemented. In terms of food, self-sufficiency has been achieved and has begun to be exported. Agricultural persuasion offices have been set up in all counties of Anning Prefecture, and the number of spiritual fields has reached 300,000 acres. Both spiritual fields and spiritual plant cultivators are growing explosively. With sufficient manpower and material resources, the estimated output of the last crop in the second half of the year alone is about 3 billion jin, not counting the harvest that has been harvested now. As for housing, the channels are open and money is enough, but it is impossible to be self-sufficient in the short term. Transportation, there is no idea for the time being, so he is aiming at clothing. The silk cloth used in the monks' robes is much more valuable than spiritual rice. There are already so many spiritual plant monks on hand, so it is just right to allocate part of the production capacity to make up for the lack of this part. Chen Jing has been prepared for this. He has collected various spiritual mulberry trees, spiritual cotton trees, kapok trees, etc., planted them in the floating world record, lit up the illustrations, and waited for hybridization. First, let's have the same style as a pig. Snow mulberry, 2 stars, plus, longevity fruit, 3 stars, equals, long snow mulberry, 2 stars, label 1, cooling and reducing internal heat, green, labels 2 to 4. Prolonging life, rich in nutrition, and maintaining health. Introduction. The silkworms that eat snow patterned mulberry have a natural cool feeling, and a texture like snow. The silk woven from them has a wide range of uses, and is loved by people. After being mixed with the longevity fruit, the medicinal and edible effects of its mulberry leaves and mulberries are greatly enhanced. After being used as feed for spiritual beasts, it can also effectively improve the quality of beast meat. Chen Jing took a closer look. The general idea is that it has no effect on the silk spit out by the spiritual silkworms, but the mulberry leaves and mulberries themselves are more delicious. It can't be said to be a failure. We got a very good raw material for feed, right? He kept this archive and continued the experiment. We have to get a high yield one. Chen Jing hybridized PO and rice into it, mainly for the green yield increase term. That PO and rice comes with PO and snow pattern mulberry, 2 stars, labels, cooling and reducing internal heat, abundant fruits. Introduction. The yield of mulberries has increased. I want to increase the yield of leaves. The popular yield increase link failed miserably. Chen Jing had an idea and hybridized the spirit chives into it. Then the label introduction prompted. No spirit silkworms eat this stuff. No. Okay, then let my 3-generation veteran, spirit duckweed, come. Chen Jing hybridized the spirit duckweed into it this time and got the green label rapid reproduction. After a closer look, it was still wrong. Rapid reproduction means rapid reproduction of the whole, not growing leaves alone, which doesn't make sense. After some experiments, I encountered a little setback in the increase of production. Chen Jing reflected on himself. Most of my spiritual fields are currently used to plant PO and rice queen. PO and rice queen is positioned to make small profits but quick turnover, and to sell in large quantities. However, it is impossible to plant this mulberry tree in many plots like PO and rice, so we should start with high-end products. It is definitely impossible to plant a 4th grade spiritual plant, and the 3rd grade one is a bit eye-catching. But change your mindset. Downgrade the high-grade spiritual plants to the 2nd grade. Isn't that enough? For example, use the 1st grade spiritual plants as the main body, and then hybridize the high-grade spiritual plants. Although it will sacrifice most of the benefits of the high-grade spiritual plants, it can also make the low-grade spiritual plants become the king of the novice village. PO and rice queen is a successful precedent. With a change of mindset, there is a direction immediately. Chen Jing took out the sound GUI. The twin sisters Shasha and Myomio, who entered at the same time, joined the Nisham Peak, which focuses on weaving. He had customized a batch of robes before, and happened to have the 2 of them for reference. It's a good time to pull them out to reminisce. Ask the Taoist Academy. One of the 8 main halls, the Weaving Hall. Completely different from other major courses, there are basically only female monks here, just like the Forging Hall next door, which also has only male monks. After you master the fish pattern needlework, you will move on to the double fish needlework. Watch my movements. On the podium, an old woman who can vaguely see the past elegance, with golden threads flashing on her fingertips. The golden threads are as agile as swimming fish, shuttling back and forth on the cloth, drawing the shape of a fish. To achieve something in weaving, you must also master the way of the talisman array thoroughly. The so-called needlework is to draw this talisman array on silk with needles and threads, and then cut it, and finally get the robe. The double fish needlework is equivalent to the spirit gathering array in the talisman array. The spirit gathering talisman must not be sloppy. The old woman finished it once, and signaled everyone to practice on their own. Suddenly, a female cultivator who was listening to the class showed some strangeness, and took out the sound GUI from her arms. Huh. It's Chen Jing. He's looking for me. Looking for both of us. Looking for me. The 2 sisters quarreled, looked around, and quietly retreated to a secluded place to answer the message. After listening for a while, Shasha began to hum excitedly, making Myomio anxious. Sister, what did you say? Ask me to go out and play. What? Ask us to go out and play. Myomio was overjoyed. What? Ask us to go out and play together? Shasha was about to refute that it was to ask me alone. Turning around, she saw that half of the senior sisters in the hall had come over at some point. Their eyes seemed to be staring at a little white rabbit. Yes, it's to ask me, she refuted weakly, and the next moment she was carried away. Let's go, we are sisters, and set off together. I'll change my clothes first. Wait a minute, let me touch up my makeup. Hurry up, I look better in this black dress, or this white dress. In a blink of an eye, the girls started to dress up with laughter. Shasha glared at her sister angrily. It's all your fault. You were too loud. Nonsense, that's not true. Mio was also very unwilling. In a blink of an eye, the weaving hall, which was bustling just now, was left with only one person sitting. Elder Yu, who was giving a lecture, looked at the girls saying goodbye to her, and just nodded with a smile. She was relatively idle. She stayed in the weaving hall every day, and had repeated the lesson several times. They were not yet at the stage of contacting more advanced things. The rest were just slow work, and there was no need to stay here all the time. Elder Yu saw that there was still a disciple sitting there, so he stepped forward and asked, Kinmu, why don't you go? It's good to join in the fun and relieve boredom. I won't go. I still want to practice magic. Kinmu lowered his head. Seeing the girl looking aggrieved, Elder Yu looked pitying. He took out a jade tube from the storage magic tool. Then help me send something to Chen Jing. He asked about a mulberry seed last time. I said I would find it for him, but I forgot to send it to him. Ah. Kinmu looked surprised. Chen Jing stood outside the market of Mio sect and waited. After waiting for a while, he saw Shasha and Mio jumping off the small paper crane and trotting over. The fluttering skirt and hair swayed up and down as they ran, and their rosy faces were much rounder than the last time they saw them. It can be seen that the food and appetite are good. Brother Chen, stop talking and run. As soon as they arrived beside him, the two sisters, one on the left and one on the right, pulled the dazed Chen Jing and ran into the market. He imagined all kinds of dramas in an instant. Was it a spy from the Fengshan sect who came to assassinate him? Or did these two people have some ulterior motives? No, most likely they had a strong suitor who wanted to use him as a shield. No, I can't be a shield. Chen Jing stopped immediately and said righteously, pulling and tugging, how can this be allowed? Shit, Chen Jing is over there. Don't run. Sisters, catch the junior brother who made the plant war. Suddenly, a group of brightly dressed female cultivators descended from the sky, locked onto Chen Jing's position, and rushed over. Chen Jing reacted quickly, dragging the two sisters to speed up and disappear. A chase in the market. After getting rid of everyone, he was still frightened and said, what's going on? I'm sorry, senior brother Chen. After the two explained, Chen Jing realized that he had a high reputation in Nishan Peak, and Shasha and Mio also contributed to it. When they get along with each other on a daily basis, they can't help but show off their friendship. It's probably like, you said Leomar, I'll introduce you to him later. Don't worry, I know him, we are close friends. Something like that. With some exaggeration and artistic processing, his image was not right. You guys, forget it. At other times, he would be angry. But Chen Jing had to admit that as a layman, he was somewhat touched in the soft spot, and he was not so angry in his heart. Next time, treat your sisters to a good meal, but don't talk nonsense anymore. Brother, we were wrong. Brother, you are so nice. Let's not talk too much. Chen Jing became serious and got to the point. Let me test you. What is the best selling silk on the market? And what is the most popular silk? After some research, Chen Jing also verified the news he had heard from the perspective of some industry insiders. The mainstream weaving product on the market is the second grade snow vein silk. Snow vein silk also has a superior substitute, the fourth grade high quality silk ice soul silk, which is a real robe quality and the favorite of fairies. Ice soul silk needs to feed the silkworms with mulberry leaves of extreme flame mulberry. As the name suggests, it is a fourth grade spiritual plant that grows in high temperature areas. There is no volcanic terrain in Suzhou, so every extreme flame mulberry is carefully cultivated in the cave and in the formation. mulberry leaves grown in an extremely yang environment, after being fed to the spiritual silkworms, spit out ice soul silk, which has a refreshing coolness far exceeding that of snow vein silk, which is in line with the wonder of yin and yang. The robe made of ice soul silk comes with a 3rd grade meditation spell, which greatly reduces the interference of the inner demon, and can maintain the sharpness of the mind, so that you can get twice the result with half the effort when practicing spells. Similarly, ice soul silk can be used in conjunction with a needle method called snow phoenix piercing, which can amplify the vision, and make the vision carry the image of the ice phoenix. It can be said that it is both beautiful and functional. In the King Nang sect, wearing a skirt woven with ice soul silk will definitely make you the most handsome guy in the entire sect. Chen Jing inquired about many spiritual silkworms and finally selected these 2. It's time to bring down the price of ice soul silk. Chapter 166 Nightmare. Zhao Kailang. Zhao Kailang. Dark clouds covered the moon. There was silence. In the small and simple thatched house, there was only a wooden bed with straw mats and straw, on which lay a man who was nearly 30 years old. Awakened by the shouting, Zhao Kailang barely opened his eyelids. "Who is calling me?" He sat up from the bed, saw the people outside the house, and sighed helplessly. "Zhuang Zhu. Why are you here? I told you to go to the fields. Director Wang is here, to promote us to farmers." Zhuang Zhu showed his big white teeth, and waved at him. "How can I be promoted to farmers? I'm only a 3rd rank agricultural officer." Zhao Kailang vaguely sensed that something was wrong. How could he see Zhuang Zhu smiling at him through the door and the window? He sobered up a little. He stood up and looked carefully. It was pitch black inside and outside the house, and he could not see anything. There was no sound outside the door. Maybe you think about something during the day and dream about it at night. He smiled foolishly twice. Zhao Kailang lay back on the bed. He fell asleep quickly after a day of hard work. Knock, 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 knock. There was a knock on the door. "Zhao Kailang. Zhao Kailang. You didn't answer, so I came in." The cold wind seeped in from the gap in the door. Without opening the door, footsteps were heard in the room, slowly approaching. It seemed that something with a cold breath was sticking to Zhao Kailang's face. "Zhao Kailang." The shouting was so close. It was like a needle prick. Zhao Kailang suddenly woke up. He opened his eyes suddenly, and his whole body tensed. "Who?" The hurried voice was very hoarse. He looked around. There was still nothing. Zhao Kailang covered his throbbing heart and let out a long breath. It seemed that someone was sticking to him just now. Suddenly, a subtle sound was heard in the room. He looked slowly in the direction of the sound. At the end of the bed, Zhuang Zhu stood there quietly. His face was pale, his eyes were empty, and he was smiling. "Ah!" Zhao Kailang let out a terrified scream. He retreated backwards and jumped hard. Bang! He hit something. His head hurt violently. In the pain and the sound of ping ping and banging, Zhao Kailang woke up again. "Ah!" He hurriedly got up from the ground. Zhao Kailang's back was pressed tightly against the wall, and he didn't dare to leave any gaps on the back of his head, like a gecko. He panicked for a long time, and looked around in fear. There was nothing. Bang bang bang. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door outside. Zhao Kailang, who hadn't had time to catch his breath, almost fainted. Fortunately, someone's voice came from outside the door. "Zhao Zhao, Zhao Zhao." It was the voice of Uncle Qin next door. Zhao Kailang didn't dare to answer for a while. After waiting for a while, he came to his senses a little, and found that it was already dawn outside. Uncle Qin called out twice again, and then the door opened gently. Zhao Kailang, with a haggard face, and cold sweat on his forehead, pushed open the door, and showed an ugly smile. "Master Qin, it's okay, I just dreamed of some unclean things." He had already remembered that Zhuang Zhu had died a long time ago. "You are so young, and have embarked on the path of cultivation. You are at an age when your blood and ki are vigorous and ghosts and gods cannot invade you. How could you dream of unclean things? Did you go out to play?" Uncle Qin scolded. In the past, Zhao Kailang would definitely not like to be scolded, and would have said a few words. But at this time, the lingering fear was still there. Whether it was the dim light in the sky or the serious uncle in front of him, he felt infinitely beautiful. Master Qin, don't worry, it's really okay. I dreamed that my old friends came to see me. I think about it during the day and dream about it at night. Yeah. Uncle Qin nodded, without saying much, and said, come to eat. I'm coming. Zhao Qiang hurriedly followed behind him. The traces of people and the smell of fireworks outside immediately diluted the fear just now. Although there are already tens of thousands of cultivators in Xinzhen, their lives have not changed much so far. On weekdays, people still have to burn firewood to cook. If there are not many people in the family, the cost of making fire and cooking will increase. In order to save money, there will be public stoves in the streets of the village and town. Paying to share the stove can save money on buying firewood and time for collecting firewood. Single men like Zhao Qiang who have not yet married simply share their meals. As the village chief of one of the rebuilt villages around the new town, Uncle Qin is responsible for solving these miscellaneous matters. He also has 2 sons, who are among the first batch of people who became spiritual plant cultivators. After the establishment of the Agricultural Persuasion Institute, they are also the first batch of agricultural officials. In this village, it is already considered a small family, and it is also the most basic tentacles of power. Zhao Qiang is here. Why did you get up so late recently? Come and eat. The eldest son of the Qin family raised his head and greeted. Come. Uncle Qin's 2 sons are already working hard to cook, and there are more than 10 people, all of whom are agricultural officials who live in this village, and get up early to eat. After eating, hurry up and work in the fields. Recently, it seems that we need to plant a new spiritual plant, mulberry trees. Let's think about it, and try to get agricultural credit. Boss Qin gulped down the spiritual rice porridge, and after finishing it, he took a bite of the leek bun and chewed it. Spiritual plant mulberry tree. Yes, there is one more thing. Use the key watching technique more often on weekdays to see if there is any strange spiritual power. The station notified that some scoundrels are jealous of us and want to infect the crops. We can't let them succeed. There is such a thing. Everyone chatted while eating. Suddenly, a burly old monk came from a distance, wearing gold and silver and a brocade cassock, and walked up to everyone. Boss Qin immediately stood up and stepped forward. Master, please stay. This is Xiaoxi village. Where are you from, and where are you going? Little donor, this is the jade tube of documents issued by the Qingnang sect. You can walk freely in Suzhou. You have cultivation. You can verify it. The burly old monk took out the jade tube with a smile, handed it over, put his palms together, and said, I came here because I smelled the fragrance of food, and my stomach happened to be empty. Okay, come. Seeing the standard divine tripod mark of the Qingnang sect in the jade tube, Boss Qin became much more enthusiastic, and took the old monk to the table. After the old monk came to the table, he was not polite, and reached out to grab a leek bun to eat. Master, this is leek stuffing, breaking the precepts. Someone reminded. Leeks are also one of the meat dishes. It's okay, I'm a fake monk, I don't care about that. The old monk replied with a smile, and also started eating. I'm used to eating rare treasures and medicines, and this simple bun made of spiritual rice flour has a unique flavor. Most people who eat together can also chat together. The old monk immediately joined the chat. I came here and encountered a strange thing. In a village ahead, the villagers had nightmares and dreamed that their deceased relatives and friends came back to see them. Master, your story has been told to death here. It's just to scare children. It's not strange. Let's change it. Everyone thought he was going to tell a story and chose to change the channel. However, Zhao Qiang couldn't help but ask one more question. What else? Then, the old monk took out a ghost mask from his arms. This is a mask that I have blessed. Just put it by the window before going to bed and you can sleep peacefully. Master, how much is it? Zhao Qiang was tempted. Only for the destined person. The old monk threw it directly to Zhao Qiang. Zhao Qiang took the mask and thought it was exquisitely made. Even if it was useless, it would be nice to have as a decoration, so he hung it around his waist. After breakfast, the old monk left, and the group carried tools to the nearby spiritual field. When Zhao Qiang passed by the scarecrow in the field, the scarecrow suddenly opened its eyes, and stared at Zhao Qiang's back with a puzzled look. Chapter 167 Empty Shell Weaving Factory. Chen Jing was still strolling in the field when someone came to visit him. It was Qin Mu, a little fangirl whom he had met once before. The sky was clear and bright, with a cool breeze. Qin Mu was wearing a long skirt, with her black hair combed into double buns, like a rabbit's furry ears tucked behind her head. She tied her braids on both sides, and placed them on her chest. Her fingers were clasped together, and placed on her lower abdomen. She lowered her head and looked restrained. Junior brother Chen, I'm here to send you something on the instructions of Elder Yu. Something? What is it? And who is this? It looks familiar. Chen Jing was a little confused, but he didn't care too much. He took it, and checked the things sent. It was a storage magic tool with some mulberry saplings in it. Then he suddenly realized. Elder Yu of the Pisces Hall of the Nishan Pavilion. He had asked Shasha and Myomio to help him find out about these seeds before. After finding out, he collected them from various channels. They were no longer useful, but they were still worth thanking. Junior brother, are you going to raise silkworms? Qin Mu thought about it for a long time, but when he spoke, it became something else. Yes, this mulberry tree is a brand new variety, and the quality of the silk woven from it is also very different. I'm going to try and see if I can make some new silk. This requires many weavers. It doesn't matter, they won't be needed for the time being. Chen Jing's first batch of mulberry leaves did not produce much. This year, he still focused on completing the work related to Pio and Rice Queen. Mulberry leaves were only used as a preliminary preparation to test the waters. Once the upper and lower parts are connected, production can be expanded. Qin Mu hesitated for a moment, then said goodbye to him and left. For my junior brother, it's just a business deal that didn't go through, and my junior sister who entered the industry at the same time took over, and she has long forgotten me. After confirming Chen Jing's attitude, she felt a little unwilling. Part of it came from it was obviously me first. But because of the intervention of their master, Elder Wu, it became the sisters Sasha and Myomio who deepened their connection with Chen Jing because of business, and they pretended to be cool in public from time to time. Others saw them bragging, just for fun and normal envy, but Qin Mu was very frustrated. If I hadn't been so obedient. This thought was what really made her feel sad. The success of others is sad, but one's own stupidity is the source of tragedy. Master is also doing this for my own good, but, alas. Qin Mu was halfway through the journey, feeling confused. She was born into a big family, and a big family in the upper 3 prefectures. She was rich in material terms, but she had no freedom and personal pursuits to speak of, and her life was clearly arranged by her elders. Most of the time she didn't feel bad, but that was because she rarely had what she wanted, or in other words, compared to the precious rich life, sacrificing the things she occasionally wanted in life was a very rational and correct choice. After all, there is no real free benefit in the world, and all things have already been marked with a price behind the scenes. When one thing you want is sacrificed, the emotions that have been secretly accumulated will not disappear, but will only burst out together in a certain event later. Why is the daughter of a rich family who has been well behaved for so long always abducted by a yellow-haired man? In fact, it is also the inevitable result of past accumulation and a rebound. I don't want to listen to Master, but what should I do? If there is anything that can most stimulate people's hearts and make people agitated for so long, it is nothing more than idols. People who stand on the stage with dazzling brilliance are always expected by countless people in the dark to break the secular world and rules. Looking at those people, it seems that I have also gained freedom and satisfied my pursuit. It is a common human trait to rely on the strong. Idols are the strong people who meet their expectations. By the way, idols packaged as commodities are not called idols. Under this subtle rebellious psychology, Qin Mu unconsciously turned the direction of the little paper crane and landed in the field. She looked at the mulberry seedlings in the spiritual field, as if she had found the possibility she expected. The correct role of idols is to point out the direction and give encouragement. If you don't want to be a puppet, you must make some achievements and become an equally shining person. Unfortunately, when people have this idea, congratulations, you are not far away from stepping into a pit, being deceived, and being honest. Honestly following the rules does not guarantee that you will not step into a pit, but it is indeed not easy to fall. Just as Kinmu's heart was surging, Chen Jing took the initiative to come over. Senior sister hasn't left yet. That's great. I haven't asked you what your name is yet. My name is Kinmu. Huh. This time Chen Jing remembered, looked up and down, and said, Senior sister Kin, this is the second time we meet. It's fate. I just want to ask you something. Are you familiar with the basic work in the field of spinning and manufacturing? Yes. This is the right person to ask. Just like the four great families in Anning Prefecture, they started with elixirs, tools, talismans, and beast control respectively. The Qin family is a family that started with spinning and manufacturing technology. Although they didn't master any high-end spinning and manufacturing magic, their first and second grade spinning and manufacturing, whether it is spell accumulation or industrial chain, are very complete, supplying nearly 50% of the low-end spinning and manufacturing market in Suzhou. If compared with wealth, the Qin family is so wealthy that even 100 current Chen Jings can't compare. Sister Qin, if you are not in a hurry, let's eat and talk. Chen Jing thought, since he had caught her by chance, he must get some benefits. Just reading the records in the Jade Tube is not enough. It would be much better to ask the person directly. Avoiding pitfalls can save a lot of trouble. Kinmu nodded repeatedly, and the light in his eyes became brighter. It was still Zengxiu Pavilion, a small room on the third floor, leaning on the railing, to listen to the wind. If you want to raise silkworms and weave in Anning Prefecture, you must go to Changchun Prefecture to recruit some experienced people. I'm very familiar with that place. As soon as he came up, he used a big move. Chen Jing leaned back slightly. Sister, are you from Changchun Prefecture? The Qin family in Changchun Prefecture. Good guy. Poaching from your own family? Junior brother, how confident are you about this new silk? Kinmu also realized that the rhythm of his words was wrong and immediately turned around to ask. It's okay. It should be better than snow silk. Ah. Snow silk is the best selling second grade silk at the moment. It's better than snow silk, so it's not developed. Kinmu blinked and said, not only the star for raising silkworms and reeling silk, but also dyeing and weaving. I can find some help. Sister, what's this? I want to make some achievements on my own. Chen Jing nodded. Everyone wants to make progress, so I understand. Then let's add a communication first. My weaving institute will be established at any time. After the preparations are completed, I will trouble you to come and take care of it. The reward is easy to talk about. Okay. I will go back and prepare. Kinmu immediately agreed excitedly, without asking about the specific treatment and what to do. Chen Jing is even more single. The so-called Weaving Institute has only one name. Create a new folder. A mulberry leaf field. A Weaving Institute with only a name. The rest depends on your ability. Chapter 168 Nightmare Elm. The moonlight was like silver, falling on the stone road of Zinsen. In the quiet night, only the slight sound of footsteps accompanied by the occasional barking of a dog broke the tranquility. It's not a big trouble, but it's a lot. A low voice sounded faintly in the night. It was Master Yu walking on the street. His footsteps were steady and powerful, and his cassock swayed gently in the wind. The stars and the moon were reflected in his eyes, but there was a slight bitter smile on his face. In a blink of an eye, everything in front of me changed. The secret and strange atmosphere spread throughout every corner of Zinsen, like a diffuse dark cloud, hovering over Zinsen. From the 9 netherworlds outside the domain, an indescribable existence murmured. Suddenly, all the strange atmosphere suddenly dissipated. I saw a light like a god coming from the front. Under the shining of this light, those things in the dark melted away. Master Yu raised his head. I don't know when. Chen Jing was already standing in front of him. Master, you have been here for a long time. Why didn't you come to find me? If I hadn't received the message from young Master Wei, wouldn't I have neglected you for several days? So it was Chen Zhenchuan who came to see you. Master Yu put his palms together and said with a smile, I have been entrusted by young Master Wei, but I haven't done anything yet. How can I accept your hospitality? I have to bother you after I finish my work. You are so polite. I wonder if you have figured out anything? Chen Jing asked. He had known for a long time that there was a non-mainstream monk wandering around and thought he was a tourist. Not long ago, he found the message and realized that he was a helper. Look at Master Yu again. He was wearing a painful robe, a golden skull rosary, and long white eyebrows. He looked very evil, but his tone and attitude were strangely friendly. Of course there is. Let's see this thing. Master Yu took out a ghost mask. I use the power of Buddhism to subdue ghosts and gods and inject it into this mask for sacrifice. After wearing it, it can scare away little ghosts and peek into the netherworld. If I lead you, you can also walk in the nightmare world. Nightmare world? It is one of the realms hidden in the dreams of all living beings. There are many ways to say the outside world. The Buddhist and Taoist sides often call it the 10,000 realms, which all mean the same thing, referring to the places that overlap with Shenzhou and a small part of the area. The realm of gods and ghosts and the mysterious secret realm are all outside the realm. Strictly speaking, the cave heaven opened up by the cave heaven cultivators is also outside the realm. Master Yu said, people who want to do something wrong are doing it through the nightmare world. You may as well go with me to dream and see. Okay. Chen Jing had heard of the nightmare world and was very interested. Rumor. The reason why mortals dream is because of the influence of the nightmare world. All those who have dreamed have walked in the nightmare world, but they are unable to do it independently. And when the cultivators have achieved success in their practice and concentrated their divine thoughts, they will no longer dream. There are some spells involving the nightmare world that can fabricate dreams by themselves, which is enviable. The two came to a stone bench by a bridge stream in the town. Put on the ghost mask. There was a trance in front of his eyes. The surroundings were still the new town, but it seemed to be covered with a layer of foam-like filter. There were blue ghost fires floating everywhere, appearing and disappearing at will. Is this the nightmare world? He could feel that his original body was still sitting in the same place. What entered here was just an incarnation of divine thoughts. That's right. Master Yu's voice seemed to come from underwater, with a little dullness. True transmission. Look at the ghost fire floating here. You can touch it. Oh. There was a ball of ghost fire burning in front of Chen Jing. When his palm approached, he felt a cool and comfortable feeling. Dream fire is a treasure of the nightmare world. It is a collection of pure thoughts and looks like fire. This thing can clear distracting thoughts, increase divine consciousness, and can also repair damaged divine thoughts. It is widely loved by some cultivators. In Yunzhou, there are also special dream workers who collect this thing and sell it to others. Good stuff. He stretched out his hand to grab it, but passed through the dream fire, and the dream fire gradually extinguished. Dream fire is born without any rules. Just pick some when you see it. Master Yu said, and taught him a simple visualization method of collecting dream fire. Visualize a container, and you can absorb and store it. Chen Jing thought, isn't this the power of my thinking? After a little experiment, he visualized a yellow gourd and collected the dream fire with a slurp. There was also a display screen on the side of the gourd, +12. The nightmare realm is closer to Shenzhou. When ghosts and gods from outside the domain descend, they often pass through the nightmare realm. Some low-level magic, Shinto and ghost ways also use the nightmare realm as a medium. I have visited for many days and have found some strange things. Master Yu nodded and led the way. On the street ahead, suddenly, a blurry figure flashed by. The figure staggered and walked to a house and began to shout. This is the nightmare of the nightmare world. If you knock on the door in a dream and there is a response, the nightmare will invade the soul. The victim will often dream of ghosts, first outside the door, then at the foot of the bed, and then in front of the body. After repeated several times, the victim will be listless at best and lose his mind at worst. Master, don't you want to kill it? It's easy to kill this monster, but it will alarm the person who drives it. I have already given the people here a protective item in advance, so this monster can't get in. However, if the true teaching requires it, I will take action now. In that case, there is no need to rush. Chen Jing shook his head. After staring at the nightmare for a while, the two left from another direction. What's the point of threatening the monks under my rule like this? He asked. Do you know the god of misfortune? I've heard that there is a great demon god in the 9 netherworlds who brings disasters and misfortunes. Wherever his power spreads, there will be disasters. It is this colleague. There are some evil methods in Yunzhou that borrow the power of the god of misfortune to plot against others. However, the god of misfortune lives in the depths of the 9 netherworlds, and its power is difficult to reach. Hearing this, Chen Jing already understood. So, this is called a door nightmare, which is just a medium. That's right, being entangled by the door nightmare and then infected with the breath of the god of misfortune. It only takes one evil method to cause a disaster. This method is extremely difficult to guard against if it has not been activated, and there are no abnormalities. Fortunately, the master helped. It's my job. As the two talked, they saw many ghosts clinging to the window, knocking on the door, and shouting. The old monk sighed and said, if it were somewhere else, I'm afraid there would be a lot of trouble, but it's very different under the true teachings. Without me, these ghosts would have difficulty succeeding. Oh. When people's hearts are divided, the ghosts will come, but when people's hearts are united, it's like a god shining, shocking all directions. How can these ghosts take advantage of the opportunity to enter? Just as he said this, suddenly, a house that was being knocked on the door suddenly opened. A sleepy shirtless man walked out. The man kicked the figure over with one foot, stepped forward and raised his hand to grab the neck of the ghost. Damn it, calling you my dear grandfather? As he said this, he punched the ghost in the face with 2 fists, and the ghost disappeared on the spot. Hey, why am I here? The shirtless man scratched his head, and his figure gradually faded. Obviously he had woken up. Amitabha, it was a good fight. The old monk paused, smiled, and chanted a Buddhist name. Chapter 169 Sleepwalking. I often hear people talk about courage, and it seems that it is not false. Chen Jing said with a smile. Courage is also one of the spiritual powers of heaven and earth, which originates from the human heart. If a person has courage, even if he is an ordinary person, he can drive away wolves and wild ghosts. However, there are very few people in the world who have courage. After a pause, Master Yu turned around and asked curiously. There are many courageous people under my Guan's henshin. May I ask how they do it? I will take care of you. Chen Jing explained in one sentence. Take care of you. The old monk's hand, that was stroking the rosary at a steady speed, suddenly stopped, and he couldn't help laughing. I have practiced Buddhism too much, but I have forgotten the common sense of human nature. At this time, there was movement again in front. Small people, only the size of a palm, were walking through another street. They were lined up in neat rows, carrying all kinds of things on their bodies. There were clothes, tools, and so on. Chen Jing was surprised and asked in a low voice, what is this? The little man nightmare. When you dream of this thing, you often feel lost, such as realizing that you are not wearing clothes, but walking in a busy city, or you are in a hurry, and lose your tools. Most of them are caused by this nightmare. Dreaming of losing things. He often dreamed of this before he practiced. A little man nightmare saw Chen Jing, paused, separated from the main group, came over to take his boots, and then left with satisfaction. Chen Jing seemed unaware, and continued to follow Master Yu. After walking a few dozen steps, suddenly an abyss that should not exist blocked him in front of him. This is the dream abyss. When you dream of this thing, you feel like you have lost your footing and fallen. Chen Jing stepped forward to look, and suddenly the abyss appeared under his feet. He hurriedly stepped back, and suddenly his heart was startled. Where are my shoes? Immediately, his feet stepped on empty air and fell uncontrollably. At this moment, a strong force on his back grabbed his robe, and Master Yu lifted him up. Don't look directly at the nightmare, or you will definitely fall down. Master Yu said with his eyes closed. Oh my god, what will happen if I fall down? Chen Jing was a little frightened. I will wake up. Chen Jing blinked. That's it. After a while, Meng Yuan also disappeared in front of him, as if he had never been there. There are so many strange things here. The nightmare world is one of the outer realms closest to Shenzhou. There are naturally generated nightmares, signs of demons sneaking in, and traces left by those with ulterior motives. Look ahead. Follow the old monk and continue walking. After passing through a few bends, an abrupt iron chain bridge appeared in front of us. Chen Jing remembered that there was no bridge here in reality. The iron chain bridge was rusty and swaying, and the other end plunged into the grey mist, extending to a bottomless darkness. Where the wind passed, the bridge body jingled. There was a faint sound of sobbing, and heavy breathing intertwined, as if something terrible was hidden and suppressed. Suddenly, a strong wind swept. The thick fog was blown away briefly. A faint sound suddenly became louder, and as the sound gradually became clearer, a pale arm poked out from the black fog, as if looking for something. Under the almost transparent skin, clearly visible blue blood vessels meandered under the skin. It moved slowly, groping in the air, and every swing was stiff and unnatural, and the fog rolled around it. Chen Jing felt that great fear instantly enveloped his whole body, as if his throat was strangled, and his heart accelerated uncontrollably, as fast as a drumstick. It's coming, it's coming. There was a hissing sound. The fog rolled, and everything around the dream withered, making the fear more intense. Suddenly, the iron chain bridge rang, and the arm paused, as if it had been extended to the limit. After a long stagnation, the arm was swallowed up by the black fog again, and there was no sound. What is this? A projection of the god of misfortune. I feel like this thing can scare me to death. Chen Jing's voice was dry. This has nothing to do with courage and bravery. It is purely a spiritual impact and crushing. Endless fear is like a tide, which is not something that the human heart can bear. I practice Buddhism diligently, but it is difficult to suppress the fear in my heart. If I didn't know that it couldn't come, I wouldn't dare to look at it more. This projection of the evil god is a source of the disaster caused by others. The power of the evil god is entangled with people through the nightmare world. Although it is weakened layer by layer and cannot form any natural disasters, it is not difficult to turn thousands of acres of spiritual fields into a deadly place. Chen Jing panted for a while and smiled bitterly. What's the situation with young Master Wei? I don't think I should be implicated by this. The trouble with young Master Wei is easy to deal with. It's just that some people can't stand him doing well. I will handle it properly. However, there is more than one person staring at you. Anyone else? I heard that the true teachings have been prosperous recently, so naturally there are people who can't stand you doing well. The two left the iron chain bridge and came to an ancient tree. The ancient tree was very scary, with pustules all over its body. Black juice flowed from the trunk and branches, and it smelled bad. There was green fluorescence around it. A closer look revealed that it was a fist-sized fly-like insect. This is the mother tree of poison and plague. It is also recorded in the record of the demon gods of the outer domain. It parasitizes on spiritual plants and turns normal spiritual plants into the source of poison and plague. Who did this? It doesn't look like the work of Yun Zhao. Yun Zhao often uses evil gods. Are there any more? Yes. Hearing the definite answer, Chen Jing's scalp tingled. Master, please lead the way. This time it was a bird flying in the sky. Looking closely at the bird, it actually had only one big eyeball. A big eyeball flapping its wings as it flew. This is an eye nightmare. When you are stared at, you feel like you are being spied on, and can't sleep well. The evil monks capture and refine it and place it in the nightmare world so that they can spy on the dreamer's experiences during the day. Good guy. I thought I was only watched by some fangirls, but I never thought that there are many people who care about me in secret. Chen Jing stared at the eyeball birds that were staring at him, feeling irritated. You don't know until you see it. At first glance, your farming base has become a sieve. You don't have to worry about the true teachings. They are just some unpresentable means. You are blessed by the Shenending, protected by the Holy Dao, and the will of the people. These evil things are separated from the outside world and can't hurt you at all, and they can't even get close to you. But they hurt my crops. This is what's annoying about the villains. Master Yu was also helpless. Outside the domain, the evil and heretic ways flourished, and many evil sects of the demon countries dominated one side. But in Shenzhou, the evil means will break at the first touch, but if they can't kill you, they can disgust you to death, and they specialize in sabotage. Master Yu, I want to clean up these things. How should I start? Chen Jing asked. Formation, Shinto, magic weapon, all are fine. It's best to use them all. The formation can isolate the indirect influence of different dimensions such as the nightmare world, which is equivalent to a wall, increasing the difficulty of others' invasion, but it can't stop people from drilling holes in the wall. The magic weapon is something like the Ning Mansion treasure mirror, which is intelligent antivirus, complete in functions, very easy to use, and touching in value. A prefecture city is equipped with only one, and Chen Jing can't equip the town with one unless he makes some low-end versions. Finally, there is Shinto. In the era of the Divine Dynasty, the Shinto system was complete, and the yin gods such as the land god and the city god protected the area and cleansed the evil spirits. Yunzhou was often invaded by the Ninth Overworld, and many people followed this method. There were many Buddhist temples and temples in the territory, using the power of Shinto to protect the mortal world. Master, do you mean that I should invite a god? This method is the most cost-effective. If the true transmission has conditions, naturally everything will be prepared. There must be no such conditions. Chen Jing pondered for a moment, and a flash of inspiration came to him. Wait a minute. Who is not a god? It just so happened that he had an idea before, asking the spiritual plant cultivators to develop the realm of gods and ghosts together, but later the plan changed, and there was no such thing. Now it is just right to bring up the old matter again. The realm of gods and ghosts does not need them to develop, and the nightmare world is completely fine. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 170, The Beginning of Rules. Unlike Chen Jing had no sense of being a true disciple. He did not live in the cave mansion, did not care about the family property, and was often not seen in the academy. He went back to his hometown every few days and tossed around on his own small piece of land. Aang Huayan, who was also a true disciple, was very dedicated. Since entering the academy, he has spent most of his time in the academy, concentrating on improving his talismans and formations. This time, he made some progress in the talismans, so he went back to Anning Mansion. On the way, passing through a village, he saw a group of people gathered together, making a mess. Hit someone, hit someone. This is my tree. Shameless thing. The woman's scream penetrated the crowd and reached her ears. The two groups of people each held weapons, staring at each other with eager eyes, and were on the verge of a fight. Aang Huayan jumped down from the phoenix bat transformed by the magic weapon, his white clothes fluttering, and it seemed that there was an invisible ladder under his feet, and he fell into the crowd. The surrounding people immediately dispersed, leaving an open space. Why are you arguing? She frowned and asked. But no one dared to speak, and those who were not involved took a few steps back. The two women who were left behind showed fear and shook their heads. Nothing, nothing. She looked like she was trying to calm things down. Muramasa is here, Aang Huayan said coldly with a blank expression. Muramasa was here just now. Everyone looked over and saw that Muramasa, who was nearby not long ago, was now riding on a donkey and quietly leaving. Aang Huayan threw a talisman to Muramasa, and a strong wind swept Muramasa and the donkey back together. Lady, spare my life. Lady, spare my life. It's none of my business. Muramasa knelt down and kowtowed like crazy. Explain it clearly. Yes, yes. Muramasa quickly explained the whole story like pouring beans. Aang Huayan thought that this matter, which almost caused a fight between dozens of people, must be serious, but after listening to it, she was speechless. Simply put, the old Liang family wanted to expand the large drying field, and the neighboring Liang family felt that their territory was encroached upon, and was dissatisfied with this. They argued with each other for a long time, until today, the old Liang family, who expanded the field, cut down a tree planted between the two families, and the two families began to curse, to fight, call people, and confront each other. That's all. Aang Huayan suppressed her emotions. Unlike Chen Jing, she often went to the countryside and didn't know that fighting and group fighting were common in the countryside. The reason for the fight was also very simple. You picked up the stone at the door of my house, so you can have a fight. If you have a fight, just fight again. If you have a fight, just fight again. Whether to fight or not is completely random. It all depends on the mood of the parties involved. She also learned that the old Liang family and the Liang family are relatives. Deal with it yourself. Aang Huayan was too lazy to continue to care about it, so she called Bailuan and left. Back to Anning Mansion. She told Chen Jing about this experience. The common people in the mountains are not like the new town under your rule. They are arrogant and ignorant, which makes me irritable. Aang Huayin stared at Chen Jing with displeasure. Junior sister Huayin has a good temper. She is cold on the outside but warm on the inside. If it were another young man or young lady, they would be impatient and those unruly people would die. Chen Jing laughed. Still laughing, Aang Huayin was a little annoyed. In fact, she rarely returned to Anning Mansion in the past 6 months. In addition to the heavy workload of cultivation, she also avoided government affairs. At first, she wanted to do something right and took on the task of Taoist yunting. Although the task was completed quite well. But after the new law was issued, various problems always occurred during the implementation process, which made her very upset and powerless. Later, I asked the village chief why the matter was not resolved according to the new law. They just said it was a small matter and there was no need. The solution in the law is only an ideal state. It is normal that it cannot be implemented. We have solved the problem of having laws and not having laws. The phenomenon you mentioned is the problem behind it. Just take it step by step. Chen Jing comforted. Before, there were no written laws in Anning Prefecture, but there are some in fact. Seeing Aang Huayin looking at him inquiringly, Chen Jing continued. The laws in the past were the laws of local landlords. The prefectural capital has its own rules, the county town has its own rules, and the towns, villages, and all the big and small families have their own rules. Every place has a boss who makes the decision. What the boss says is what it is. Most of them do not need to be clearly stipulated because written regulations are not friendly to the boss and they will lose the right to interpret some of the rules. But the rules still exist in a way that everyone accepts and form inertia. We intend to replace the original things with our own rules layer by layer. It is normal to be resisted. Don't think that the new town is good. That's because it was built from scratch. So naturally what I say is what it is. In fact, except for writing my rules clearly, I'm no different from those big and small families. Then how to do it? Just take them to play together. Chen Jing said. The forces in Suzhou formed layers upon layers, and they basically didn't interfere with each other. The main reason was that they couldn't play together. The Qingnang sect only wanted talents from the wealthy families, and the wealthy families basically didn't interfere as long as they didn't cause public outrage. The wealthy families also only wanted the resources of the vassal families, and they also didn't interfere with how the vassal families were managed. The vassal families followed suit, ensuring that they could supply what the superiors wanted, and they could do whatever they wanted with the rest. If there was nothing to pursue, this structure was actually quite stable. After all, the power held by the upper class was not something that the lower class could resist. The various classes clearly divided their needs and interests, so there was naturally no need to come up with a set of rules to frame everyone together. Can't play together. Aang Huayin understood, nodded and thought, and understood its meaning. Only when everyone is playing together, there must be a set of game rules that everyone abides by. Otherwise, when the rules are issued, no one will pay attention. Then he reacted. Your agricultural promotion office? Yes, the agricultural promotion office is an example of playing together, but it is not enough. We need to extend our tentacles little by little, so that all the big and small forces can get on board with us. But I don't have any other benefits. Aang Huayin hesitated again. In fact, she herself had thought of this truth, but she didn't think about it in detail. Because if you want everyone to play together, there must be benefits. Chen Jing's agricultural promotion office shook the authority of the local family, but gave enough benefits, so there was not much resistance. People obeyed by threatening them. Because those family heads can give an explanation to the interest groups behind them, things can be done. Otherwise, they will not resist openly, but will disgust people in secret, let alone play together. Can Aang Huayin give such benefits? Impossible. She has only so many resources at her disposal. Without game rewards, no one will come to play games. If she doesn't stretch out her hand to ask for more, she will be blessed. Could it be that you have a way? Aang Huayin's eyes were suddenly full of expectation. She couldn't do it, but she had confidence in Chen Jing. This man would always come up with a feasible solution. I happen to have a new project here, and it is consistent with what we have been planning recently. Before calling you here, I also asked Master, and he allowed us to do it. Huh. You asked me to go back to Anning Mansion just for this? Almost. In addition to extending some rules to the lower levels, it can also solve some public security problems. Look at these rural villagers, who gather and fight all day long. The influence is very bad. It is better to vent their energy in a useful place. Follow me, Chen Jing said, and walked in one direction. Huayin, who followed behind him, saw a newly built temple soon. There were 4 words written on the temple. Neti Temple. Chapter 171 Temple. Huayin recalled the sage books she had read and confirmed that there was no word called Neti. Chen Jing seemed to see the doubt in her eyes. Chen Jing's explanation followed. Heaven, earth, and man are the 3 sources of spiritual power that the current practice world relies on. There is a saying that heaven has a net, and the earth veins are also shaped like a grid. Since there is a net in heaven and a net on earth, there should be a net in humanity, and a person's life is nothing but firewood, rice, oil, salt, sauce, vinegar, and tea, so the name net and tea are taken from it. It's not because of internet cafe plus coffee. There is no internet cafe. There is no coffee, so it can't be named internet cafe, so it was changed to net tea. Huayin blinked, nodded and said You don't know, although I, Chen, keep a low profile, my talent is still too dazzling, so that some people have hidden evil intentions and use evil methods to make trouble in the nightmare world. This is the foundation of my enlightenment. I can't just leave it alone. So, build a temple. Although there is a golden statue of me here, I don't do the gods and Buddhas. Huayin, haven't you already studied many talismans? It's a good opportunity to perfect them together. I want to let the soul cultivators and even ordinary people step into the nightmare world with the help of the power of the statue. But what you just said? Huayin couldn't figure out what this meant. By bringing others to play, seeking benefits and avoiding harm is human instinct. Chen Jing showed a mysterious smile. Sometimes letting others play with us is not only limited to getting more benefits together, but also to avoid the loss of benefits together. If my spiritual field is cleaned up by evil cultivators, can this be spared? I will lose a lot, and they will lose a lot too. Huayin's eyes widened. It can also be done this way. Suddenly, a thought came to his mind. Is it because of what you said, relying on external pressure to make the internal more united? I guess so. Don't use this trick often. Just let it go. In short, I have asked a professional security consultant to go to the county town and township with Boss Wang to notify them. I guess those people will come to us crying for help soon. In that case, we will prepare to build a golden body and a temple. Seeing that Chen Jing had made preparations, Huayin helped with the follow-up matters with peace of mind. In the circle of Anning Prefecture, Huayin's power as the lord of the house can still be fully released. Friends from the wealthy families said that it was good to have a temple, and they slept more peacefully and provided their own support. Of course, whether they slept well or not did not depend on the Nightmare Realm, but on Lord Ing himself. The major forces in the county were directly related to their own interests. They still cared about the high orders brought by the agricultural persuasion and did not want to make any mistakes. However, they asked to participate in the relevant management of the temple. That is, to serve as a small priest. Chen Jing agreed to this. He was short of manpower, and he would not refuse to bring everyone to play. Time flies. The summer is about to end. Although the weather is still hot, it is not as hot as in midsummer. After the Agricultural Persuasion Institute, regarding the temple, it was also implemented in accordance with the rule that regardless of the gentry or the common people, if there are more than 100 families living together, a temple will be built. From Anning Prefecture to towns and villages, large and small Neti temples have been built. Master, the Neti temple has been completed. Let's see how it works. Chen Jing invited enthusiastically. I dare not disobey your order. Master Yu put his palms together, feeling emotional. He originally came to help deal with the evil god, but inexplicably, without any explanation, he was given a series of strange titles by Chen Jing, such as specially hired security consultant, nightmare world project manager, sleepwalking project team supervisor. But it was quite interesting, so he started to tinker with it. As a demon cultivator born outside the domain, he practiced magic in reverse, realized Buddhism, and cultivated Buddha nature. He fled back to Shenzhou and had a place in the safe Shenzhou. But it was also a status similar to that of a guest official. Guest official sounds nice, but in fact it is a mercenary. It was the first time that he was given a serious title and participated in a serious project. I have never seen it outside the domain, nor have I experienced it in Yunzhou. It was sloppy and professional. But when everything was completed, this sense of accomplishment was indeed completely different from the achievements I had achieved before. The two of them stepped into the nightmare world together and observed the temple. I saw many figures appearing in the temple. Here they come, the priests are online. Chen Jing was inexplicably excited. Master Yu looked at him twice more, not knowing what he was happy about. Each temple, depending on the specifications, has several priests in charge of the distribution of talismans. The main task of the priests is to explore the nightmare world after nightfall. All the priests were wearing special priest uniforms, with goods with display screens on their waists and weapons in their hands. The weapons were different, including swords, guns, boxing gloves, bows, etc. These equipment were all conceived by Chen Jing and integrated into the talismans for the priests to enter the dream, so that they would have initial equipment as soon as they came in. If the priest died during the exploration, it didn't matter. After all, it was just the incarnation of divine thoughts, and they could recover after a few days of sleep. Unless they were entangled by nightmares, they would catch a person and destroy his divine thoughts repeatedly to grind him to death. Is this the nightmare world? Brother Chen, touch it. It seems real. Huh. Brother Chen, is this dream fire? The priests pointed to a dark blue dream fire and asked. Dream fire is a basic currency set by Chen Jing. Collecting dream fire can be used to exchange for various talismans. Dream fire can also restore damaged divine thoughts. In other words, it can shorten their resurrection time. As long as there are enough dream fires, it can also enhance the divine thoughts projected in. It integrates resurrection coins, experience points, and currency. Let's go and have a look. The man called Brother Chen took the lead. He was a member of the Chen family. Although he was not a close relative of Chen Jing, he had a background and was a small leader in the temple. A group of people came to the dream fire carefully. Brother Chen took out the gourd, sucked the blue ghost fire into it with a slurp, and the display screen jumped. +9. Everyone was immediately happy. Quick, look around, maybe there are more. With a good start, everyone became a lot bolder and walked away a little. Suddenly, a cry of surprise came from a place. Brother Chen, come quickly, there is something strange. A crowd of people gathered around, and when they looked closely, it was a door nightmare knocking on the door. It was halfway through the call. The enthusiastic onlookers surrounded it. What is this? TSK, what was the security consultant doing when he was teaching you? It's obviously called the door nightmare. TSK, this is called the door nightmare. It's just like what they taught, dark and hard to see clearly. How is it? Are you still asking how it is? Kill it. The door nightmare pressed its back against the wall, not daring to move, but this did not save its fate. Swords, spears, axes, and halberds were added to it, and it was chopped into pieces. That's it? Killing a nightmare. The slow ones didn't even touch the knife, and suddenly felt that this so-called nightmare world was nothing more than this. Everyone immediately took arrogant steps and scattered around to look for nightmares. No matter what kind of nightmare it was, they would chop it when they saw it and call for help when there were too many. For a while, it was like bandits passing through. Very cruel. Chen Jing smiled and said, Master, you see, this defense is pretty good. When they become proficient, let them kill in the depths of the nightmare. Maybe they can kill the projection of the god of misfortune. Master, you had an expression of admiration. It's amazing to command ordinary people like this. Chapter 172. Join the army. The priests, like the agricultural officials of the Agricultural Promotion Office, also have a hierarchy and reward mechanism. Chen Jing did not spend extra time thinking about it. Corresponding to the agricultural officials, a set of replicas was made, which were divided into trainee priests, formal priests, divine masters, great divine masters. The welfare system was slightly changed. The work of agricultural officials is to create value. The value created by the priests is only dream fire, which is negligible, and is classified in the sharing value level, so both the number of personnel and welfare have been reduced. For example, agricultural officials work for 10 years to get a house, while priests need 15 years. When the priests have new ways to create value, they can upgrade their welfare. Master, after this period, will you return to Yunzhou? Chen Jing asked casually. After so much trouble, there is actually another idea, which is to squeeze out more value from this master. Therefore, he has been suppressing the projection of the evil god, and has not solved it. It is easy to solve a projection of the evil god, but what about the follow-up things? Simply establish a defense mechanism for long-term stability. During this period, Master Yu has made a lot of efforts. Now the temple is initially completed. Master Yu has almost completed his mission, and is about to part. Chen Jing had some intention to keep him. I'm used to traveling around the world. Hearing this, he thought the old monk was unwilling. It's okay to settle down in Yunzhou, but it's also okay to settle down somewhere else. Master Yu changed the subject. Master, do you have a favorite place to go? I like this place very much. I wonder if the true teachings can accommodate you? Master, please feel free to stay. A smile appeared on Chen Jing's face. Although he had some confidence in recruiting Master Yu from his usual attitude, he was still very happy to recruit him. Even if Master Yu's background was not good, he was a solid 4th level Shenzang period cultivator. In the sect, he was at least an elder level. He was the only high-end talent he had. From now on, the dirty and tiring work that Boss Wan couldn't do will be done by someone else. Although this boy is entangled with calamity, but he has a bright future, and now the opportunity is rare, it's worth a try. Master Yu also had his own plan in mind. He was willing to join Chen Jing for 2 reasons. One was that he was not valued by Wei Shao. Young Master Wei is well established and powerful. He is not too much of a helper. He is polite on weekdays, but it is not a big deal to say that he is treated well. If you want to enter young Master Wen's core lineage, forget it. But Chen Jing is different. Although Chen Jing's realm is not high now, his potential and background are considerable. In terms of background, he is the direct disciple of the previous master, and in terms of potential, he has the qualifications of a saint. He just happens to be a commoner, and has no direct lineage to use. Master Yu couldn't understand at first why no one took the opportunity of the dragon in the abyss and quickly joined the army. He thought there was a trap. However, after understanding it for a period of time, he understood the reason. First, the time is still short. It has only been about half a year since he officially joined the sect. Most people are waiting and watching. And now that the Qingnang sect has changed the ancestral law, there are many variables, making the choice more complicated. Secondly, Chen Jing is not as without direct lineage as he seems. Ying Huayan, who also serves as the master of Anning Mansion, has a very close relationship with him. He can even make direct decisions on most internal affairs. Therefore, he has neither direct lineage nor territory, because the entire Anning Mansion has been tacitly regarded as his territory, and he is slowly digesting it. In the process of digestion, he will have everything he needs. Get the details clear, and make sure that the opportunity is not a trap. The rest is personal compatibility. Master Yu, as an outsider, fled to Jiazhou to seek peace. On the basis of stability, he also hopes to make some progress. Chen Jing's conditions can be said to be perfectly met, especially progress. For most people, relying on oneself to make progress is the most unreliable choice. Choose the right platform and the right boss. After that, the rest is to be accomplished by oneself. But that calamity. Master Yu said as this thought flashed through his mind. Second Master, it was not easy to speak directly before. Now there is something that I need to tell you. Oh, young Master has the aura of disaster. Is it like the god of disaster? No, it's fate. Bloody disaster, right? Chen Jing nodded and said, Master has told me that I may have a calamity in the next 10 years or even decades, and if I can't get through it, I will die. Since Master has predicted it, I think it's okay. Master said that it's because my realm is low, I just need to improve it as soon as possible. Maybe there is still a lot of time. So far, he has not been too anxious, but he has paid more attention to improving his realm. When he reached the late stage of Zuanayan, his cultivation speed slowed down significantly. Although his manner and consciousness were growing steadily, his understanding and perception of the Tao were very slow. As long as there are sufficient basic resources, almost everyone can reach Zuanayan. But Shenzang is not something that can be easily accumulated with ordinary resources. How did the master break through to Shenzang? Chen Jing asked. He walked his own way, so he didn't have a wheelchair, so he could only listen to other people's experience and explore on his own. The Shenzang period is using my method to replace the way of heaven, and the Dao flower is the recognition given by the way of heaven. Therefore, the Shenzang realm can cover the present world and make the fake look real. Master Yu said, and golden lotuses appeared around him. In fact, the way of cultivators like us is not the real my way, but the way that heaven and earth already have. We use it for our own use and make slight additions and subtractions. Only the unprecedented way like yours can be regarded as the real my way. Is it definitely unprecedented? Maybe it has been there before, but it has not been implemented, so it has not been there. What does it mean to be implemented? After the heavenly man, he is completely connected to the heaven, in harmony with the way and transcending, living forever with the way, and living as long as the heaven. This realm, I have only heard of it. That's too far away. What I mean is that since the existing ways are all the holy ways in the past, I actually have a lot of reference points. Chen Jing smiled. I will tell you everything I know. The old monk began to talk about his own path. Daohua is not a purely fictional thing. It is said that Taoism derives from law and law derives from art. Young master should start with art, choose an art, derive law and inherit Taoism. This art can be created by yourself or adapted. Like me and other cultivators, there are common ways to learn what art, practice what law, and understand what Taoism. Young master needs to sort it out by yourself. I was originally a beast from outside the domain, and I was thrown into the magic cave, and did not die, so I had to go on the road of cultivation. Chen Jing was secretly shocked. Evil demons often use human lives as consumables. There are also a large number of ordinary people in the evil sect of the demon kingdom. They are really cutters leeks. They cut a crop when it grows, and cut it in different ways. Therefore, the people there are also called beasts. People like livestock. The magic cave is a common selection for cultivation. There are poisonous insects and beasts in it, and the fierce aura is everywhere. If you survive and do not die, you will naturally go on the road of cultivation. The selection is very cruel. Chapter 173, Discussion. Master Yu continued to tell the story. After going through all kinds of things, I finally cultivated the Zuanayan. Later, I met a black-robed monk who was seriously injured and dying. I should have captured him and received a reward, but somehow, I lent a hand and healed his wounds. The monk claimed to be a disciple of Jiazhao Shengzang, and he was carrying the way of the Holy Buddha and wanted to save all the demons in the world. After his wounds healed, he passed me a volume of Demon Crossing Sutra, which can refine the demon nature. The sutra records many Buddhist principles, as well as 6 magic spells. Eyes see joy, ears hear anger, nose smells love, tongue tastes thoughts, body is worried, and opinions desire. After cultivating these 6 roots, the 6 flowers will be condensed. My cultivation, the Zuanayan of the demon path, has been reversed into the Zuanayan of the Buddha path. Cleansing the 6 roots, and the path of the Shenzang path has been opened up. As he spoke, Master Yu's painful robes were shining with golden light. Golden lotuses bloomed around him, and the essence of Taoism was rippling, as if there were Sanskrit chanting and reciting scriptures. The 6 great magics were also performed one by one. Seeing the reality of the world with eyes, hearing the root of all things with ears, the 6 senses give rise to 6 consciousnesses, each with its own mysterious features. At the request of Master Yu, Chen Jing accepted some of the 6 senses, and felt that his past fundamental desires were all sorted out at this time. There was no more desire and trouble that could shake his pure heart. The whole person was sublimating, sublimating, sublimating. But soon, he broke free from this sage state. First, the 6 senses are for the practitioner himself, and the effect on others is greatly weakened. Master Yu also did not want to influence Chen Jing with Buddhism. He saved himself but not others. Second, Chen Jing's own desires were not so easy to eradicate, but were only temporarily blocked. If the six senses method is cultivated, it is not difficult to make a demon put down his butcher knife and become a Buddha on the spot. Chen Jing experienced it a little and expressed his approval. And he had some insights. Obviously, the monk who was rescued by Master Yu was also a practitioner of the Holy Way. Of course, the Buddhists have their own opinions, which is not important. The monk's way is to purify the demons in the world. And he believes that the birth of demons is related to the impurity of the six senses, so he developed a powerful magic to purify the six senses. This is the manifestation of his way above the magic. What about me? Chen Jing asked himself. His way is the bottom line, but what method and what technique to embody it? Taoism, Taoism, Taoism. How can there be Tao without law? He asked a question. Master Yu thought for a moment and said, although I don't create new methods, I have come into contact with many at my age. I see that most of these inherited methods are inseparable from the three ways of heaven, earth and man. That's true, but it's too broad. Chen Jing affirmed. Master Yu observed it, and he got the answer directly by reading the relevant classics given by his master. The inherited method is very close to the Tao itself, so it pays more attention to the general direction, and the general direction of cultivation now is the three ways of heaven, earth and man. Influence the sky, influence the earth, influence people, choose one, or choose all. You can also choose a less broad one. But the Tao with less influence, even if it is a new Tao, is not necessarily stronger than the existing Tao. If we refer to the Tao of the nameless monk, the other party has undoubtedly chosen the human Tao as the main attack direction, and the six senses act on people. Then I should also focus on people, because the bottom line is for people, but the implementation method is inseparable from hybrid books and farming. So we have to have a little bit of the right time and place, a little bit of everything. What's the difference between this screening and no screening? Chen Jing was distressed by this. This is actually because he didn't understand his own Tao enough. Young master is still young, so there is no need to rush to open up a new method. One Tao is not something that can be carried by 3 or 5 methods. For example, the Demon Crossing Sutra, in addition to the 6 senses as the core, there are many general methods that can be reused. Master Yu reminded. I understand. Chen Jing nodded. The master also told him this point, so he didn't have to rush. For example, almost most of the inheritance methods involve making money. Obviously, most people who open up the path of Tao think that they can't be without money to achieve Tao. Most of the inheritance methods also involve fighting, which means that walking the path of Tao will inevitably kill the opponent. This kind of universal method can condense Tao flowers, and it is likely to match the path you want to walk. It's okay to practice this in advance. In this regard, Chen Jing has a better advantage. Last year, Hua Qingsha mentioned the matter of opening the orifices and communicating with the gods. The most important thing about the spiritual orifice and communicating with the gods is not the innate ability brought by seeing the gods. The god in the god refers to the god's treasure. The ability to see the gods is a universal Tao flower, which is why seeing the gods is favored. It is equivalent to booking in advance that most of the road to the god's treasure has been walked, and the probability of successful investment is quite high. Spirit, energy, and spirit, plus wind, spirit, moon, and shadow, a total of 4 abilities to see the gods. I only need to summarize them into spells, and I can turn them into the first 4 Tao flowers of my path. Chen Jing felt relieved. What's the difference between this and tracing according to the pattern? As long as you have the hands. The road is promising, and the future is bright. After a conversation with the master, I feel much more clear, and I have gained some confidence on the road ahead. It is also Milner, Wanjiang Prefecture, Balian Peak. Ask the Taoist Academy. 50,000 learning points. 50,000 learning points per person? Did I hear it right? How could it be false? The posters and notices have come out. I never thought that we could actually do it. Only half a year. The students discussed it one after another, and each other looked incredible. At this time, a woman took a look at the notice. It was Qin Mu. The Wantang room is fully applied. Can it connect all the prefectures? She was shocked. There have been several sky-high rewards in the academy, which are praised by them as impossible to complete within 30 years. One of them is the teleportation array. The teleportation array is a key array that the Qingnang sect has not mastered. Without the teleportation array, there is no way to go to other continents unless you don't care about your life and cross the sky with your physical body. A considerable part of the closed door policy in the sect is also due to this. There is no road. What can we do? Yunshang sect and Mao sect have the lowest art of teleportation array, but obviously, it is not free. After some research, Qingnang sect has developed a substitute, that is, Wantong room, which is a substitute for teleportation array. However, even so, Wantong room still has many restrictions. The cost is huge, and it is unbearable. It can only be passed through the cave. If some of the key problems are overcome, it can be popularized. Even if it still cannot cross the sky, it is great, as long as it can connect the various palaces. As Chen Jing said, the major forces are self-contained and the government orders are not communicated, because they do not play together. This is not a true insight, but it is helpless. Without a road, naturally, you can't play together. Trade between each other is only carried out in the nearby range, or over a longer time span. The connection between the upper and lower classes is only the most core interest exchanges. This situation may be beneficial to stability, but it is harmful to development. Tell Chen Jing the good news later. Qin Mu had been planning the affairs of the weaving factory for a while, and now that everything was basically ready, he was going back to Ning Mansion to bring this news over. Chapter 174, the belated rebellious period. During this period of time, Qin Mu's preparations included returning to his hometown, Changchun Prefecture. He wanted to steal someone's girlfriend. Changchun Prefecture, one of the top 3 prefectures, is the real planting base of Suzhou. A lot of precious medicines, spiritual fruits, mulberry rice and other spiritual plants are widely planted in Changchun Prefecture. The top spiritual fields in Changchun Prefecture are more than all the spiritual fields in Anning Prefecture combined. There are countless middle and lower spiritual fields, as well as ordinary rice fields and paddy fields. The population of Suzhou is more than 50% in the top 3 prefectures, and the population of the top 3 prefectures is basically supported by the food of Changchun Prefecture. It can be said that Changchun Prefecture supports most of the people in Suzhou. The Qin family, where Qin Mu is located, mainly grows mulberry trees. Of course, it is impossible for the Qin family to grow them themselves, but the hundreds of cultivation families under the Qin family all make a living by growing mulberry trees and raising silkworms. Just like the Chen family to the Duan family before. What Qin Mu did was to visit these small cultivation families at home and let them pack their luggage and go to Anning Prefecture with him to start a business. A dozen families should be enough, but it took me a lot of effort. Qin Mu recruited them not to let them work. On the contrary, it was to teach others to work, pass on the various skills of planting mulberry and raising silkworms, and start from the management level. It is not easy for them to give up their long-running territory and come to a new and unfamiliar place. Of course, these dozen families did not come with their families, but separated a part of their clansmen to develop here. Starting from the management level, plus Chen Jing's reputation, there are always people willing to try. In addition, during this period, mulberry trees grew, and silkworms were fed. After the first round of growth, they spun silk and made cocoons. Qin Mu spun the cocoons into silk through a series of steps such as boiling, reeling, shaking, and weaving. The new silk, called Zupo silk, was very pleasantly surprised by the effect. By comparison, it is completely an enhanced version of the second-grade Zuwen silk and a low-profile version of the third-grade Bingpo silk. And there is no increase in the cost of cultivation. This is almost predetermined. As long as the industrial chain is perfect, the new Zupo silk will completely replace the existing market position of Zuwen silk, which can be said to have a promising future. What Qin Mu is doing now is to build an industrial chain. Poaching people at home and finding technical backbones in the academy have become her only 2 jobs recently. After a lot of hard work, although things have experienced many setbacks and accidents, they have all been overcome one by one, and the progress has been steadily advanced. During this period, she hardly asked Chen Jing for help, but from time to time she reported good news, saying that it would be soon, which made Chen feel that his behavior of just painting cakes was a bit bad. But for Qin Mu, these things gave her an unprecedented sense of accomplishment. The shortcomings in her heart in the past were filled in the process of advancing her career and overcoming difficulties. She had never practiced during this period, but her cultivation realm and the perception of the Great Way were rapidly improved. It should be nothing. Go back to Ning Mansion and let junior brother Chen Jing go to Changchen Mansion to pick someone up. Qin Mu turned around and prepared to leave after listening to the news in the academy. Suddenly, there was a movement in the storage magic weapon. When he looked into it with his mind, it was his senior sister Wang Shanling Yingui who sent a message. Qin Mu, go back to the weaving hall. Master is here to look for you. Come quickly, it's very urgent. I'll be back soon. Qin Mu had to take back the little paper crane he had released and went back to the weaving hall of the academy. At the door of the weaving hall, he was stopped by senior sister Wang Shanling who was waiting. This way, come on, I'll take you to see master. What's the matter? Why is it so urgent? You'll know when you go there, Wang Shanling said mysteriously. The two did not go directly into the main hall, but went to an empty side hall next door. Wang Shanling, who came in right after him, closed the door, and the whole room suddenly became dark. Qin Mu was startled by the sound of the door closing. He looked back and watched the light disappear from the crack of the door. He felt something was wrong, and then the voice of Master Elder Wu came from behind him. Qin Mu, Master? Master was sitting on the main seat, looking at her expressionlessly. Kneel down. Qin Mu didn't understand, but he didn't dare to disobey his master's order, so he knelt down on the cold ground. What have you been doing these days? Qin Mu immediately understood why her master was angry. She immediately looked at Wang Shanling beside her with a look of anger. She turned around and said hurriedly, Master, I just want to make some achievements. Did you pay attention to what I said to you last time? Halfway through his words, Elder Wu waved his hand and slapped the armrest of the chair, making a loud noise. Qin Mu trembled, and his neck subconsciously retracted. Disciple. Humph. Elder Wu stood up, and the air around him became heavier. We agreed to it last time, but it's only been a short time, and you are shameless enough to get involved. Master. Qin Mu raised his head, gritted his teeth, and said, but Master said the same thing last time. Chen Jing's true teachings are indeed for procurement, and he has no other intentions. Elder Yu of Shuangaihu Hall has personally asked about this matter, and the students in the academy also know about it. What you mean is that Master is paranoid? Do you really think that these true teachings are easy to deal with? Even ordinary people know that ants should stay away from elephants. Otherwise, even if they don't mean to make things difficult, they can put you in a dilemma of life and death. Mua, you are still young, don't be blinded by those superficial glory. Do you want to say that you have no other intentions for Chen's true teachings? Although Qin Mu did not respond, his stubborn and unconvinced eyes clearly confirmed what Master said. Elder Wu shook his head and turned back to sit in his chair, and senior sister Wang Shanling spoke at this time. Chen Jing's henchman has never set up a weaving factory in Anning Prefecture. He has opened up more spiritual fields and built large and small neti temples, but he has never done anything he promised you. Wang Shanling spoke softly. After this, Qin Mu opened his eyes wide and was speechless. She wanted to do things, so it was impossible for her to not leak any information, and it was not something shameful. However, she only told senior sister Wang Shanling about the more detailed parts. For example, the content of her agreement with Chen Jing. Therefore, it is normal for Wang Shanling to accurately investigate Chen Jing's situation. Junior sister Mu. Looking at her expression, Qin Mu thought of a sentence in his mind. I'm also doing this for your own good. I'm also doing this for your own good. Perfect prediction. She lowered her shoulders and lowered her head. If Chen Zhenchuan is really sincere, why didn't he make any moves, leaving you alone to work hard? Have you ever thought that after you set up your stall, he will raise the price and make some excessive demands when you are in a dilemma? How will you deal with it then? Wang Shanling's voice was reproachful. Qin Mu was powerless to refute this. She even felt that there was nothing wrong with the consideration of her senior sister and master. But she told Wang Shanling a lot, but she didn't tell her about the snow silk, let alone the quality of the snow silk that completely crushed the snow vein silk. Even if Chen Jing didn't sign a contract with her, she knew that this was definitely an important secret. As the main material of a large number of first and second grade robes, the market share of snow vein silk is very exaggerated. It represents amazing profits and huge interest groups, and a small roll of snow silk in her hand may overturn these things. She is not stupid, and she is an insider. She can see its value, so she naturally hides it and dares not say anything. It's not that she doesn't trust her master and senior sister, but she is worried that leaking information will affect Chen Jing's arrangements. It won't be too late to talk about it when she spreads the stall. But now, Qin Mu's hand is on the storage bag. As long as he took out the snow silk inside, he could prove that he was not impulsive and that Chen Jing was not unprepared. Such perfect silk could not be made casually. There must be a lot of investment behind it. Since junior brother Chen trusts me, I should ensure that there are no mistakes. But now, it's okay to tell master what I can see. They can also tell them, and they can provide more help to me and junior brother Chen Jing. Qin Mu's consciousness selected the roll of snow silk and was about to take it out. Mua, you disappoint your master. Suddenly, Elder Wu, who had been silent for a while, said this. Qin Mu's hand paused. Some emotions that had been suppressed for a long time were pierced on the spot by this sentence. Why, not doing what you say is wrong. Do you have to control everything about me for my own good? She slowly lowered her head, her chest heavy, as if she was suffocating, and the hand on the storage magic weapon also quietly let go. Qin Mu suddenly realized that even if he took out the snow soul silk and let master and senior sister know that they had misunderstood him, it would be useless. Although master and senior sister had no ill intentions, the future development would definitely turn into that the things that were originally promoted by him were directly taken over by master and senior sister. Because they are more capable and can do better. And for himself, there will probably be a change, and the part she deserves will not be less or even more. But I don't want to be a child anymore. Qin Mu lowered his head and knelt there, hiding his hands in his sleeves and clenched them tightly. Reflect on it well. Seeing that Qin Mu just knelt there without saying a word, Elder Wu showed disappointment and anger, stood up and pushed the door and left. You. Junior sister Mu, you are really a rotten head. I will go to persuade master. Wang Shanling glanced around and hurried over to chase master. She just caught up with Elder Wu and was about to say a few good words. Then, she and Elder Wu were stunned at the same time. Because Qin Mu came out of the side hall, rode on the little paper crane, and went straight down the mountain. Traitor, traitor. Elder Wu felt his blood pressure soar. Master, don't worry, junior sister has always been well behaved. Most likely, that new true disciple used sweet words to deceive junior sister. None of these bastard true disciples is a good thing. Elder Wu said angrily. What do you mean none of them is a good thing? Wang Shanling was stunned and did not dare to ask more. She just said, I will go with junior sister Mu to avoid any accidents. Go quickly. Take care of yourself, master. Wang Shanling thought the little paper crane was too slow, so she chased after it with the escape technique. Chapter 175. After you finish learning, don't say I taught you. Chen Jing's schedule is regular and fulfilling. In the morning, it's time for cultivation. Learn new spells on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, and review old spells on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. With the help of Fengling Yueying, improve stability. In the afternoon, start to handle official business. Read recent news, check various data reports, review memorials submitted by Boss Wang, and help deal with some affairs of Ning Mansion, make plans, etc. In the evening, enter the nightmare world or the realm of gods and ghosts, fight plant battles, and kill nightmare monsters. Play for 2 hours, and go to bed on time at 12 o'clock. End an ordinary day. Of course. Not every day is so fixed. The academy opens classes, the spirit beast hall shows up regularly, pays wages to agricultural officials and priests, and goes back to the Chen family. to urge the old father to practice hard and chat with Hua Kingsha and Yanjin Reo, which is also a part of life, until Qin Mu's senior sister rushed to the door first. Chen Jing, what did you do to my junior sister to make her so obsessed? Swish. Chen Jing, who was practicing earth vein magic at the edge of the spiritual field, was angrily questioned by a woman in gorgeous clothes who fell from the sky. Boss Wang opened his eyes wide with a subtle expression. Everyone turned around, but pricked up their ears to listen carefully. Your junior sister is. No matter who your junior sister is, I, Chen, have never done anything to other junior sisters except my own junior sister. You actually did something to your own junior sister. Wang Shanling was dumbfounded. Chen Jing felt that he seemed to have said something wrong, but it didn't matter. He turned around and glanced at the people around him. Did you hear it? I didn't hear anything. Boss Wang shook his head again and again. The people around him were also very tactful. They hummed a little song, looked at the white clouds, and dispersed. Chen Jing put away the earth vein magic on his hand. Who is this senior sister? Wang Shanling, my junior sister Qin Mu. She. Chen Jing finally understood and said, didn't she tell you clearly? She told you clearly. Senior sister Wang. At this time, Qin Mu's faint voice sounded from behind. Wang Shanling's angry face rose. How come she is faster than me? Although she started later, she had a magical instrument to move around and was proficient in escape techniques. She should be 2 hours faster than Qin Mu, who could only ride a small paper crane. Because Wantong House needs to choose a site, an elder gave me a ride on the way. Qin Mu sighed. Senior sister, can I talk to junior brother Chen alone? Wang Shanling glared at Chen Jing, then took the initiative to walk away. I'm sorry junior brother Chen. Qin Mu's nose was sour, and he lowered his head, feeling a little aggrieved. What's wrong? Chen Jing lowered his head to look, but she immediately moved aside. He guessed. Your senior sister Wang came up and said that I was bewitching you. How? Why didn't you show the snow soul silk to your master and senior sister? How can that be possible? What if? Qin Mu sniffed and said with a nasal tone, what if it is accidentally leaked out and your plan goes wrong? Chen Jing took a breath. Good fellow, if you don't tell others that you have such a good thing, then how can you do things? Qin Mu was stunned. Can I tell others? I said you are so slow in doing things. It seems that you are doing it all by your own ability. Chen Jing also solved the case, and he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This project, which was jointly established with the Net Tea Temple, has already been put on the table by the temple, and the staff has just been recruited here. Well, although it has a lot to do with his focus on the temple. Qin Mu's eyes were visibly filled with tears, and his waist, which had been bent for so long, finally broke. I messed up. Woo. Not really. Hey, can you please stop crying? Yes. Qin Mu held back his tears, and the hand hidden in his sleeve quietly pinched his flesh. Chen Jing leaned back, eyes wide open. He thought people couldn't stop crying, but they could! Exclamation mark. With a little shock, he continued, you didn't mess up, but, contrary to my expectations, you chose the most difficult, but also the most profitable way to complete this matter. Normally, you should show the snow soul silk, and then capable and interested guys will flock to you, and you can select a few of the most sincere and generous ones, and let them contribute money and effort. For example, the Deoxiang pig was sold so easily. But, doing this, the profit cannot be maximized, right? Chen Jing smiled. Yeah. Qin Mu nodded. For me, it's enough to popularize this thing quickly and benefit myself quickly. It's better to make more money, but it's also normal to make less money. After all, I have a weak foundation and can't take all the profits. So that's how it is. Qin Mu suddenly realized and nodded vigorously. There is another reason. Some things happened during this period, which made me realize that some benefits are easy to make people jealous. For me, this level of profit is easy to get. In this case, it is worthwhile to share the profits and reduce the attention and pressure. Hide your shortcomings. Yes. Then I messed up. Qin Mu's voice was a little choked. Slowed down. She asked weakly again. In this case, this matter can be done by anyone. Why me? Silly child, because you are cheap. If you give it to others, the more capable they are, the higher the commission they will get. Unlike you, you pay money and still enjoy it. Any boss who meets you will love you to death. Chen Jing hesitated for a while and didn't say it out loud. It's too cruel. You will understand later. He said vaguely. You treat me like a child. Actually, I want to make something of myself. I don't want to be treated like a child, so I deliberately avoided the path you mentioned. I also don't want my senior sister and master to know about ZooPOC, so that my senior sister and master will misunderstand you. Kinmu blamed himself and gave up on himself. Really? Chen Jing looked at her. Pink face, red eyes from crying, stubbornness in her eyes. She is really a noble lady from a wealthy family. A smile rose at the corner of his mouth. His memory was pulled back to the past uncontrollably, to the carefree times in his previous life. I was a little envious of you just now. Once, when I realized the benefits of being a child, it was impossible to be a child. What's so good about being a child? If I were as outstanding as you, master wouldn't control me in everything. I'll help you with some tricks. I'm known as a little expert in arguing with my father and a little genius in coaxing my mother. Have you heard of Master Yunting? You can rest assured about me. If you learn a trick or two, I guarantee that your family status will rise sharply after you go back. Really? If it's true, then I'll call you senior brother in the future. It must be true. Chen Jing smiled and turned his eyes to Wang Shanling, who was standing aside and casting anxious glances at him from time to time. He came up with a plan. Come on, junior sister Qin, I'll teach you the first trick now. Learn to pretend at home. The master's door is the second home, and it is a more stable and long-lasting home than the original family. Family conditions and family personalities are often impossible to choose and difficult to change. The only thing that can change is oneself. Of course, it doesn't mean that you have to obey your family unconditionally. It's about finding fun in getting along with your family. If you live at home for a long time and can't find fun, and you only see the flaws and discomforts of your partner, then life is too difficult. No, it should be said that it is too miserable. Pretend to be cool. Kinmu blinked, not understanding the meaning, and felt that the word was too indecent. Yes, people live to pretend to be cool, pretend at home in the early stage, and then pretend outside, step by step. Chen Jing waved his hand. Come closer to my ear. Come closer, get closer. HMM. Kinmu responded with a mosquito-like sound and moved closer again. His cheeks flushed. Then, his eyes widened slightly. It was as if he had come to a new world. His eyes were shining. In the distance, Wang Shanling, who saw this scene, couldn't stand it anymore. Damn it, they were so affectionate in front of her. It was simply not human. She didn't care about so much and rushed over directly. Separate from me. Unexpectedly, Chen Jing and Kinmu separated immediately. Kinmu suddenly sighed deeply, which contained a lot of thoughts, interrupting Wang Shanling who was about to speak. Alas, senior sister Wang. HMM. Originally, I just wanted to get along with you as an ordinary junior sister, but what I got in return was misunderstanding again and again. HMM. Wang Shanling looked at Kinmu, whose whole person and temperament suddenly became arrogant, and was at a loss. No more pretending. I got a superior substitute for Snow Vein Silk. Showdown. Snap. Wang Shanling was wondering what was going on when a ball of silk was thrown at her face. She frowned and picked it up to take a look. Her expression was slightly hesitant. Look again. Look carefully. Look solemnly. Look shocked. This. Her hands trembled slightly. With her decades of professional weaving and identification ability, she could completely distinguish the various wonders of this piece of silk. Apart from anything else, she had touched the snow vein silk countless times, and could compare the advantages and disadvantages just by comparison. Looking at Wang Shanling's appearance, Chen Jing raised his eyebrows at Kinmu, while Kinmu gave a thumbs up secretly with a satisfied expression. Do you dare to give your master a set? I'm afraid that my master will beat me to death. If you are afraid of death, don't pretend. If you pretend, you are not afraid of death. Then I will try. The two communicated through voice transmission. Seeing that Kinmu, who had just tasted the sweetness, really wanted to die, Chen Jing hurriedly advised him. Don't worry, you have to think of a new word. That's right. Looking at Kinmu, whose mouth corners were gradually tilted, Chen Jing felt a little guilty. The style of this little fangirl seemed to be wrong. What a sin. By the way, junior sister Kin. After you learn it, please don't say that I taught you. Chen Jing, who sympathized with Patriarch Bodhi, left this sentence very solemnly. The two communicated secretly for a long time. Wang Shanling finally finished evaluating the value of the silk roll. She looked at the two people and then at the silk in her hand. Is this what you want to spin? Yes. Alas. Wang Shanling, reduced to a clown, couldn't help but smile bitterly. This damn girl, why didn't you say it earlier? End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.